Mr. Vice Chair, you have about 4 of your commissioners online now. We're still waiting for others. 5, I see Commissioner Slover's just joined us. So you do have a quorum if you want to go ahead and get started.
Thank you, I will.
Christy?
Good afternoon. Who was that?
No, you're fine.
All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenneth Counts. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners of DC Housing Authority. Today is our regular monthly meeting, January 14th, 2021. The time is 1:01 p.m.
A participant has joined the meeting.
I have to ask, if you're not speaking, please ensure that you put your device on mute until we ask you to take it off to speak. Thank you. I would like now to ask that we take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Today our agenda, we have invited members of the public to sign up to speak by website or I can say in person, or those who have come onto our website to order themselves to testify through our link through Facebook Live. With that being said, we have 3 resolutions that we are going to talk about or discuss. I believe Executive O'Donnell, you're going to have the first one, and I believe Ms. Punter takes the other 2.
Mr. Chair, I need to determine a quorum if you like. Call name.
Okay, all right. Can you please?
Sure. Okay. I'll start with Commissioner Council.
Present.
Commissioner Slover.
Here.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Commissioner Strickland.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Gossry. Is Commissioner Van Gossry there? Okay, Commissioner Ortiz-Gal.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Bussey Reeder.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Falchecchio.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro.
Present.
I'll circle back. Has Commissioner Van Gossry joined us? Okay, Chairman Albert.
Present.
Thank you. You have 9 commissioners present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like
Yes, I have you, Commissioner Talaferro. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like the commissioners to consider the minutes from our June 9th, 2021 board meeting. Are there any comments or changes that we need to hear? If not, I'd like to make a motion. Is there a motion?
Move to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to introduce to you our new interim executive director, Ms. Brenda Donaldson. This is the director. She's our first board member. She has been with us a little over 3 weeks or a little over a month. And I would like for Ms. O'Donnell to say a couple of words if she'd like to.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. I am delighted to be joining DCHA in the role of interim director and to be here in my first official board meeting. I've had a very jam-packed 3 weeks of an onboarding process, meeting with lots of people and trying to get a handle on the big important issues so that we can move forward. I am still in listening and learning mode but at the same time taking action, and that's kind of my style. So thank you. I will, when it's time, have a brief report and update on activities over the past month from various housing authority departments. Thank you.
Well, next, guess what? It's your turn
Time.
to give
Very
your
good.
report.
Thank you. So Natasha Campbell is going to share the deck that I provided to the board. It's way more detailed than I'm going to talk. I think you will be appreciative of that. I just want to highlight a few very important activities. And Commissioner Van Gosri, I will acknowledge that all of these activities took place under the previous administration, under Director Garrett. So before I came, and the important thing to point out is that, of course, while we're still in COVID mode, the agency has been up and running. We've got staff on the ground, and we have continued to do the work and have just made the adjustments. I wanted to highlight the CARES Act funds that we received from the federal government, and to show you how we have been able to spend those funds. We received almost $16.5 million in supplemental funding by the CARES Act, and those funds were authorized to be spent for prevention, preparation, and responses to COVID-19, and that includes allowing us to make those adjustments to maintain normal operations and taking other necessary actions to make sure that we could continue to move. So we did invest a little over $2 million in information technology resources to make sure that our employees could work remotely. So some of that included access to the internet, actual devices themselves, laptops and printers, and cell phones. This was a big investment, but we will continue to operate in a hybrid mode for some time. So with some on-site work and some remote work. And I think that's a good thing that we've all learned, that we can operate remotely. And so this investment in this equipment was not just short-term. It is something that the agency is going to be able to use for quite some time. We engaged in public-private healthcare partnerships with Howard University, George Washington University, and the United Medical Center for communications and outreach regarding the COVID virus, and also to promote access to testing and to vaccinations. For our employees, we made decisions to take advantage of and augment our employees who are essential employees with increased per diem and quarantine funding, overtime funding as necessary, and some other workforce costs. That was a very high cost because, of course, our employees are a huge part of our operations. And so that was a tune of almost $8 million. We also invested in supplies and cleaning equipment of a little over $1.4 million, chemicals, deep cleaning, cleaning supplies, and some of those we will have available for our employees as they come back to the workforce. And then for our return to work, which I'll talk about in a second, a little over $2 million for some additional equipment upgrades, materials and technology, again, to make sure that we can support our team. So that's $13.9 million. I understand that we are on track to fully expend these COVID resources by the end of the year as required. Next. Natasha, you can move on. Okay. So I think you all have all seen and known, and we've reported multiple times about all of the upgrades and adjustments that we made to the agency so that we would be prepared and safe during COVID. And so you get to see that. That's our lobby, and I've already talked about specifics. We did also participate in and promote vaccine clinics, and in partnership with Johns Hopkins Hospital. So a lot of activities, outreach and recruitment for the first and second dose, providing space wherever available when necessary, supporting with internet connectivity, and that's for staff and our residents. We have a workforce COVID tracker so that we were reporting, and I understand that we report it regularly to the board about the number of employees who have been exposed or affected by COVID, and those who were, whether they were required to be quarantined when they returned to work, and sadly, the employee who was lost to COVID. So here we are now. We're going back to the workplace. It's not back to work, really. It's back to the workplace because we've been working all along. And I have approved the return to workplace plan that Natasha Campbell has led with others throughout the agency to figure out what is the best and safest way for our employees to come back on a gradual basis, and then so that we're fully ramped up and by Labor Day. So you'll see we're bringing in employees this week. We brought in our directors and managers and supervisors. So I was able to see some faces for the first time without not on screens. And then we have several other phases that will take us through Labor Day so that we are returning to the office. It will be hybrid, as I've said, with 40% on staff or in the office and 20% working from home, and there will be shifts. Make sure that we adhere to the appropriate distancing required by CDC. We do have, through our partnership with United Medical Center, a mobile health unit that comes to continue offering vaccines to our staff who have not been yet vaccinated, and that will occur this summer. So we'll just move on. Clearly, everyone is apprehensive about, trying to go back to some degree of normalcy when we still are technically in a pandemic and still are have to adhere to protocols. We don't know, and we can't ask who's been vaccinated. So we are doing our best to ease that apprehension for employees. And then I'll say the other word that I'm using is to have some flexibility. We know that coming back to work before kids are fully in school and daycare centers and summer camps are not fully operational, or parents weren't able to make those arrangements. So we do have to be flexible, but we do expect that we will be, as I said, Labor Day is our benchmark for being up and running. Okay. The other thing I want to just highlight in this meeting, again, you have all of many more slides on the portal, but the focus on our capital projects. I updated the board bit in the brown bag session, the budget, the budget process. I think we had a good showing at our council budget hearing. The council is still deliberating on the mayor's budget. Our job was to defend the budget and to provide follow-up information and justification for our ability and our need to spend the funds, the capital funds that are included in the budget for FY22. We believe that we have a plan to do that, and I believe that we have satisfied questions and concerns that have been raised relative to this year's slower start. So we're ramping up, and we have we will be putting in some new measures to make sure that we can move at a faster pace. In terms of our overall transformation plan, well, actually, the dollars that I want to reference here are part of the the city's capital budget that supports the transformation plan. And so everyone, I think, is aware that we have $50 million appropriated in the FY21 budget. And this is what I was just referencing about concerns about a slow start. But this year, we have obligated already $10.7 million of the $50 million. We have another, this should be a dollar sign and not a percentage, $16.2 million that is in queue with the Office of the Chief Financial Officer that we believe will be approved within the next week or so. There are a few things that we are still following up with them on, but we believe those projects requests will be approved. And then we have the final $22 million that we will be submitting in August. And I expect that those funds will be obligated by the end of the fiscal year. Some of them are tied to $1 million contracts, and those have been teed up for the city council. So everything is in motion. And then we're hitting the ground running with the FY 22 funds that we hope will be approved by the council. There are a few other very specific project related updates that I will follow up with, and we will, continue to be transparent about where we are with all of our projects. So I don't want to highlight any at this point. Keep going. Natasha, you can move on. I know the board has charged the executive with improving communications and stakeholder engagement. A lot of activities have occurred even during COVID, although of course they were all virtual, pretty much all virtual, but a number of activities they're detailed here. And if the board has questions, then staff will be able to chime in, but just wanted to list all of those. Resident engagement activities, and they will be continuing throughout the summer. We also have youth programs and special initiatives. And we have our summer youth employment interns who are also, who started, I think 3 weeks ago. I think they started when I started. So they are working with us either at headquarters or on some of the projects, on some of the, and some of the properties I'm in. And finally, another goal is identifying opportunities for greater operational efficiencies. We will have a detailed work plan, but in terms of property management, I think the team wanted to highlight that as COVID restrictions are lifted, that we'll be able to get back to some of the basics in terms of inspections and housekeeping, major unit turnarounds. So those had to be delayed and adapted because of COVID, but work did continue. And there's a snapshot of work orders. And I think one of the big systems upgrades had to do with replacing or with installing emergency generators. And I understand that the final group of generators have arrived and are being installed. And here, for those who are visually oriented, is a picture to show you. Finally, I think this is finally the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We do have $11.8 million in emergency vouchers from the federal government. We have a very robust plan with our partners, the Department of Human Services and the COC partners to make sure that they are referring residents and that we are, not residents, but residents, individuals, and families in accordance with the requirements, and that we're able to move as quickly as possible to get people leased up. And the training has started, I believe, this week or next week with our service providers, so that to encourage them to make referrals very quickly. And I think that's it. We've already talked about the, I'm sorry, I'll stay on this for a second. The CARES Act funds, I've already talked about that, and we are on track to spend by the end of the year. We are launching or in the midst of, I should say, our FY22 operating budget, which is provided by the federal government as opposed to the capital budget, which is largely from the district government. We have identified in the past budget shortfall. I need to get further briefed on that before I will come back to the board with exactly where we are in terms of any shortfalls and also the status of the reserve funds. We will be inviting the board to a budget symposium in August, I believe it is. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions?
I have a quick question unless someone else does.
Okay, Commissioner Slover.
There's two, I just want to surface two things I haven't heard about recently. Was the right to return resolution 1606, which we passed in 2016. There was a follow-on resolution presented by the advocate community a couple months ago. I'm not sure the status of it. It is something that is, I think, paramount or really critical that we get done because it establishes the trust, and there's a big trust gap between our clients and the residents and DCHA, and this would go a long way to closing that trust gap. So just for you,
As a general counsel to respond to that.
can I finish? Just
I apologize.
just to set the record, again, in 2016, this resolution was passed. However, here we are in 2021, and it really hasn't been formalized. And so, and it only covers the new communities projects. So it does not cover the rest of our portfolio. So none of the residents in the rest of our portfolio are covered by resolution 1606, which is the right to return. And even those who are covered by it, they really aren't because it's never been memorialized and put into our regulatory and operation agreements. And so I think it's critical that this agency move forward or not on that work. It's been represented for years that these residents have the right to return. Now it's time to make it formal and official. And thank you.
Director Donald, Commissioner Slover, yes, the draft resolution is a sea change because it affects or cuts across all DCHA developments. And so we have the draft, we have it with Director Donald. We need to discuss it, and I think that we're close to finalization.
But I think what's important to make sure that Director Donald understands is that it's been represented to our residents and to our clients that they are covered by this. And so it's time to formalize it. And so I don't want to be having this conversation a year from now. I don't want to have this conversation 6 months from now. I'd like to be done with this in the next board meeting in September.
Thank you.
And the other issue is the Greenleaf project. I haven't heard any updates on it. It's on a very defined timeline. Some of those timelines have expired, so it would be great to understand where that deal stands.
Okay. Senthil, are you available to give an update, or someone from your team, please?
I can briefly update. We are about to engage in a very intense period of resident and community engagement in order to feed into the revitalization plan, which will be presented to the board later this fall for a vote and approval, which would be an exhibit to the master development agreement. which, per the timeline that has been set forth by the board, would need to be completed by the end of the year. And we'll be providing an update as to, and these will be, and share with the board all the public meetings that will be taking place, and if any of the board members, wish to observe or participate.
So what has been executed to date since the resolution was approved in, when was it, November of last year?
Correct. I believe the resolution was passed, I don't remember the exact date, but towards the end of last year. And there was an operating agreement that was executed by Director Garrett shortly before his departure. And we are now, which, basically just sets forth how we move forward to the MDA. It only exists until an MDA is executed, and primarily lays out this revitalization plan process, and which we're going to be taking and providing an update on.
So the operating agreement, clearly by your interpretation, did not require any board approval?
That is correct. Per guidance we've received, yes.
Because it was my impression, and maybe obviously falsely under my impression, is that the board was going to get approval after 180 days of something. So it's been what, 7 months? So it sounds to me like nothing will come forth to the board for an entire year from approval.
So we are acting in accordance to the resolution that was passed. And Greg, if anyone from OGC would like to chime in here, which provided the authority for us to move forward to negotiate and enter into an operating agreement. And but it's clear, and our next step is this revitalization plan, which we would bring to the board for its approval. And we have to get to an MDA by the defined period, which I believe is 6 months from the execution of the operating agreement.
Right. So 12 months from approval of the resolution.
No, I believe it's 12 months from the execution of the exclusive right to negotiate, which was executed roughly a month or so after the approval of the resolution.
So 13 months from the approval of the resolution. So a year later we'll be just getting going?
No. I think it's important to recognize, this has been a long long-standing planning process that dates back many years. And then the selection of the team, which was done, through a competitive procurement process, kicks off. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback from someone. Apologize. The selection of the team and then the execution of the operating agreement sets forth the steps by which we would negotiate the master development agreement, of which this key element is the revitalization plan, which goes into any approval of the Section 18 demo dispo approval, which the board then would also have to approve. But that has to be done with deep engagement with the residents and the community. And that portion of that portion of the redevelopment is actually what's taking place. So I would, and that could not have happened without the selection of the development partner which to move forward. So it is an evolution of the proposal that they have put forth, that now that they've been allowed to directly engage and will continue to engage with the community, will evolve to a revitalization plan that'll be presented to this board.
So I'm going to say it one more time. It doesn't sound like the board's going to be approving anything for 13 months after the first approval.
I'd have to go back and count the months, but approximately that's correct. I think it'll be about 12 months. But right now we anticipate coming to the board in either October or November with the revitalization plan for approval.
So, Director Don, we can talk about this in a different forum, but I think one of the frustrations of being on this board is the lack of communication on some of these issues. And so, it's been 6 months, now 7 months since we've approved this, and it was It's a big issue. It's a big deal. It's a lot. I personally voted against it because I just see it. We're going down the same roads we've gone down before, and so and it was, I think, impressed upon the agency that the board wanted to move quicker on this, and that just doesn't feel like we are. And it would be great if we could just get some better communication on it to understand why.
Yes, thank you. And
Commissioner,
I'll
I would
follow
add,
up
like,
with you all on which projects we should give regular and routine updates on and how you want to receive those.
I remind you, we came with the development team and provided an update. I believe it was in May, to the development mod committee, and gave an approximate timeline. And so this is still all consistent with the last update that was provided to the board.
So maybe I should be clearer. Maybe you should provide the entire board written updates on these projects versus verbal updates, which are hard to follow, hard to track, and hard to keep up with.
We can
Written
facilitate that.
documents, written
Yes.
documents maintain, and they're much easier to follow and keep track of.
I can
So
appreciate
noted.
that, and we can facilitate that, sir.
Makes sense. Is that it, Commissioner Slover?
Yes,
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes. On Greenleaf again, my understanding was that was to be build first, and the build first opportunities have disappeared. How does that figure into our plans?
So, Commissioner Hoffman, that I don't believe that information is accurate. We are still working.
He's a
that is hello? Sorry. That is a tenant of of the development, and it'll be fleshed out all throughout this revitalization plan. We are working. One of the things we have done is evolved as to how we can find ways to move this project even faster, but we are still negotiating with the development team on an off-site build first site, as well as looking at ways where we can move development on site as well at a faster pace.
Alice Monica.
Thank you.
Commissioner Council, to follow up to that, I'm sorry to monopolize, but that build search site is pretty critical, and that's again part of the communications or lack thereof when you hear a lot of things in the community about the build first site going away, and now we're hearing they're not, but we're maybe looking at a different one, and that's really what's caused a lot of the delays in these projects in the past. And so I thought one of the things that we were trying to get done is make sure that build first site was locked and loaded before we picked the team, but it appears it's a moving target now. So that would be really great as part of the communications as to the status of that, because again, history is repeating itself, it would appear, because the offsite is what's causing the delay. It would
Commissioner,
appear.
I would, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I have to counter that. When you say locked and loaded, there's teams have brought sites to us, as through the development procurement process. However, no negotiation takes place until after that development team is selected. And as you know, these deals with deeply affordable pieces also have to have commitments and structuring of the financial subsidies that would go along with it. So that is what we're discussing now as to what is the optimal structuring, what are the funds that would be available to us, both from a capital and operating side, that we would be able to bring to a project in order to facilitate the replacement units needed for an offsite or an on-site development project. So I apologize, but I will have to, counter that point that you just made.
But maybe the structure doesn't work, Central. Maybe there's just too much. I mean, my point is these things are taking way too long, and we need to understand why. Maybe the offsite isn't the right thing to do. Maybe it's too complicated. Maybe it creates too much time. Maybe there's too many barriers.
So,
I feel like we're going down the same road again that we went down on these other deals.
I would counter that and also saying is that we are also looking at ways where we can do a blend of on-site renovations as well, which has been expressed as a desire of many of the residents. For example, in say the senior building, and what tools, potentially RAD or others, that could be utilized in order to ensure that we are able to move in a much faster pace than some of these projects. There is 100% lessons learned from the prior projects, and those lessons are being applied to this one. So am I saying that the process is perfect? No, by no means. And it is very much something that we're evolving. And as Director Donald previously indicated, there is a strong commitment to expanding our engagement process, and I think it will bear fruit. However, I do think it would be incorrect to represent that once we pick a developer, that deal is baked as is before there's any negotiation or with that development team and any conversation around what funds would be available in order to facilitate the deal to go forward.
I mean, I don't want to extend this conversation, but I thought that part of the RFP requirement was to show land control of the offsite.
That's right.
Maybe I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but that appeared to me to be one of the critical elements, and it wouldn't appear that that's the case.
Land control is only one piece, though. I mean, like, as I was saying, the land control alone isn't saying that is then automatically an offsite project. The land control also has to be accompanied with a deal that makes financial sense for all
I know,
parties.
but do they have land control? So that's my question.
The offsite that is currently under negotiation, they do, one of the partners of the team does have control of the site, and that is what is currently being negotiated as part of the offsite build first. But as I mentioned, we're working on but in order to move the project as fast as possible, we're looking at all avenues, which is inclusive of on-site build first opportunity.
Well, when we get our written update, I'd love to have that in writing, because that's counter to what a lot of the chatter is. And so what I'd like is facts versus fiction.
Okay.
So that would be really, thank you.
Commissioners, are there any other questions before we move on? Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to the resolutions. Ms. Punter, are you doing that?
The moving to work resolution, I believe is the first one, and so I'd like for Hannah to walk through that again.
Okay.
Thank
Hannah,
you.
whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am bringing Resolution 2109 to approve the District of Columbia Housing Authority fiscal year 2022 moving to work plan to you today. DCHA prepared its fiscal year 2022 MTW plan in accordance with the requirements of Attachment B of its MTW agreement with HUD. DCHA outlined its proposed federal capital fund budget of $20,217,576 by major line item, including $8.8 million for modernization. DCHA included a list of anticipated properties for which it may submit demolition disposition applications. Submitting such an application and/or any related transactions requires separate and express approval from the Board of Commissioners. DCHA met with its stakeholders, including the Citywide Advisory Board, to discuss the MTW plan. And the proposed FY 2022 MTW plan was available for a 30-day public comment period and was discussed at a public hearing on June 8, 2021. Comments received were considered. This resolution approves the DCHA FY 2022 MTW plan for submission to HUD and authorizes the DCHA Executive Director Secretary to execute all related certifications and forms. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Punter, I'm going to ask, some people do not have their cameras on, and by us trying to get this to go right as you speak, please state your name. Thank you. Ms. Punter?
Mr. Vice Chair, if I could just let you know, we do have some individuals that signed up to speak on the resolutions. So you might want to call them up to speak on the resolutions first before we continue with our presentation of the resolutions. You have your listing in front of you.
Hold on, let me bring it up.
If you don't have it, I can call the first person while you look for it.
All
Are they-
right, all I have is resolutions.
I
All
think
I have
that's
is
Okay, so the
resolutions.
specific to this resolution.
there were some people that did sign up for this resolution as well as the other two.
Okay, Alethea, proceed, please.
Well, the first person I have on the list is Shantae High. She's on the line for this resolution 2109.
Okay. Ms. High, are you on?
Yes, this is Ms. Hyde.
And I'll give you a warning for your time limit, just in case you get to that point. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
1 second. I had actually made my statement a part of my testimony. So I'm just gonna read that, and then later on I'll give my testimony, if that's okay, for the public speaking. Okay, in regards to the moving to work plan, I'll be clear. Park Morton has been underserved for quite some time, and there is much work to be done on its plan to make it efficient. I have stated so many times in so many meetings that if Black Lives Matter, make them truly matter by making everything about our lives matter, including our Black voices, our housing, our businesses, our children, our health, our education, our communities, and our livelihoods matter. Invest in the Park Morton Equity Plan for the just way to give us racial equity, the racial equity we deserve. There is an opportunity for growth in this era of change. The principles and tools of the PMEP should be included in the move to work plan. So after this plan is passed, please work on amending it to include the Park Morton Equity Plan. And that's all I had to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alethea, is there anyone else that wants to testify?
We do have Ms. Frazier listed for resolution 2110 and 2111. If you want to have her come up before you do that presentation.
I saw her just leave. I don't know if she's going to come back on,
Oh,
but why don't we allow Ms. Punter to present it, and then we'll allow Ms. Frazier to comment.
Commissioner Council, shouldn't we vote on 2109 before we go to the next ones?
We can.
You can vote.
Okay.
You can vote now. You can vote now, or you can vote all together. It's up to the board to determine how it wants to vote.
Well, let's go one by one. Okay, resolution 2109.
I was, excuse me, I signed up. This is William Jordan. I signed up to speak as well.
For what resolution?
The move to work.
Okay. Do you want to have your say before we vote?
I can have it before or after, however
you can do it now. You can do it now.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is William Jordan. I'm part of the Park Morton Equity Team. I would like to recommend the following change later on when the plan is amended. On page 53, section title updated fiscal year 19 move to work plan in reference to Park Morton and Bruce Monroe, that all that text be removed. It is no longer and replaced with a phrase that says project currently under review. That would be a more accurate expression. That section was written probably in 2018, and that plan is outdated, obsolete, and failed. So to continue to keep that in the move to work plan would be a mistake. It actually exposes the agency legally and morally, in my opinion, to continue to pretend that a plan that's no longer valid is an actual plan. So that be removed, and some kind of statement to say we will under review, and we would come back to it later. As well as, I think doing so will also build confidence that the board, as well as the agency, is on top of this issue, and it's not just papering over the failures that we've seen at Park Norton and the challenges that we're facing today. And as well, I think removing that section would show goodwill that everybody is paying attention and working. So that's my statement. Remove that section and replace it with under review, and that's on page 53. Thank you.
Commissioner Council.
Yes,
I would like to speak on move to work. I put that in chat.
okay.
Procedures. I want to go on record stating that the
Commissioner, your audio is messing up.
I'd like a question as well, so whenever.
Okay, let's get Commissioner Van Groschry straight first.
For the senior building and for city, we are going. Can you hear me? I need to say that's or no.
You're going in and out, Commissioner Van
So you
Groschry.
can't hear me. I won't be able to vote either because nobody can hear me.
Okay, Commissioner Slover.
With regards to the MTW, I'd like to better understand the capital fund grant breakdown. Specifically, it looks like $20 million, $20.2 million comes in. And then what drops to the bottom line for use on the actual assets is 8.8 million. Specifically, what is the $1.3 million RAD program conversion funds?
Alex, are you on the
Sarah,
line?
are you on?
Oh.
Yes, I am, but John Sarah might be able to explain that better than I can. John, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you repeat the question, please?
Specific to the capital fund breakdown, the $1.3 million that's being taken out for RAD program conversion funds. What is that exactly?
Right. I believe not having the document in front of me, but isn't that the relocation costs that we have?
No, John, it's actually something else. It's in the other. It's not on the slides. It's in the overall capital fund, I believe.
It's in the resolution.
Okay, give me 1 second to look into it.
Possibly the replacement housing factor fund?
It's RHF, but what is it exactly? What is it?
Oh, so that is so if it is RHF, and I'm not on that document yet, but usually when we demo or dispo properties, we do have something called the replacement housing factor, which is the amount that HUD sends out in compensation for those units. It's a much lower amount than you would get from an actual unit, but that is I'm still trying to find my way through that document. But if it says RHF, that's basically what it is. It's additional funding that we get from HUD for any units that we demo or dispo.
But it looks like it's a debt. It's going to that. So there's a $20 million comes in for capital funds, right? And then you're taking off $2 million for operations, 1.3 for RAD program, 5.6 for debt, 738 demo dispo funding, and $2 million for administration fee, leaving $8.8 million of actual money to do work on our properties.
Right.
What's the $1.3 million going to?
I'll have to look into that. If you give me until the end of this meeting, I'll probably get you the answer to it.
Commissioner
Well, what
Slow,
it looks like is it looks like there's an allocation to the 136 units that equates to $1.3 million.
that's correct. That's the Melville project. It's being used for pre-development funding.
Right. So is that going to be the case on every RAD project? Because you're taking away $1.3 million above the line on a very small capital fund budget. I have this discussion every single year, and I don't understand why we're robbing an already small fund for an enormous portfolio. So this whole this is an unfair allocation to a smaller project.
Well,
This is some
yeah, they specifically have
from
to be
previous
used for a
year.
certain purpose. Go ahead.
And Commissioner Slover, it is some remaining RHF that had to be obligated, so that's why it's shown committed to that project. So HUD no longer gives RHF; they now have another type of fund called DTTF. So it was in a previous plan that the remaining RHF would be allocated to Melvo. So it is not from this year's allocation.
But what
you have to commit it. You had to commit it by, I believe it was last October. I think Barbara Chin worked on that to make sure that we didn't lose the remaining RHF. But John can confirm, and I can work with you and Andre.
That doesn't make sense to me because it says we're getting $20 million, and then you have all these deducts, and then you have 8.8 going to the properties, and so to me, where I'm sitting, it looks like you're taking $1.3 million out of an already small fund.
Right, and I'm on that page right now, and that's exactly right. We're actually backing out the $1.3 million out of the $20 million, and so the designation RHF here, I don't think it's accurate. If this is a pre-development funding, which is allowed by HUD for RAD conversion, basically we're allowed to take out some pre-development expenses from the capital funds. I do have to look further into it because I think at least 4 years ago when I was involved in RAD conversions, the limit was 100,000 per property. So
These funds are coming out for years. I mean, you go back and look at the last 3 years. This same number is coming out for this same project. Again, every year, monies takes out of this very small amount of money to maintain our projects, our properties. We take all this money out, and so we wonder why we can't maintain our properties.
Right.
So if we do a bunch of RADs, let's just say all these RADs we're talking about, there's going to be no money left in the capital fund.
That's true, but on the flip side, you wouldn't need much capital funds once you convert everything to RAD. Of course, we're not looking into.
There's not enough money. Come on, man. There's not enough. $1.3 million for 136 units, right? Every year. How many years we've done it already? That's $10,000 per unit. We don't have $10,000 per unit in 20,000. I mean, the numbers don't add up.
Right. So if I understand you correctly, Commissioner, you indicated that you have seen the same number for the same properties in prior year.
Correct. I ask the same question every year and I get a different answer. But it's been scraped out of this very thing on a number of occasions. And then we have, debt service of 5.6, operations 1406. I don't even know what that is. Like $2 million. What is that?
So this is mostly funding the PD, the police department, the DCHA police department.
So the police department gets funded out of our small capital budget. It doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, well,
Which is one
that's true.
of the reasons, Commissioner, that I did say I'm going to be reviewing. Well, I'm reviewing the whole budget, but the public safety budget in particular, and needing to understand all of these different pots of money. And I'm just not there yet. I hear that you have raised these issues for some time, but I promise you I will get to the heart of our budget and it will be transparent, and then the board will be able to make decisions. But I'm not there yet, and I don't want staff to kind of struggle through trying to respond right now when apparently I don't think they are as well.
All right, then why we can't approve it if we can't explain it.
Well, I think you certainly will have your right to make that decision based on your vote. I know we had a long discussion about this in Brown Bag, and I didn't hear those issues being raised, and I'm not sure where the other commissioners are as well. So it's a board decision.
Ms. Donald, Director Donald, I'd like to bring things up in the public meeting because there's a public record of it, like Commissioner Van Gosser said. And so we need to be able to answer these questions in the public. So that's why we have public meetings. And
Sure,
so,
sir. That's understandable, but if that specific level of questions was asked in the Brown Bag, at least staff would have had time to get together and make sure that they were clear about what you were asking so that they could respond appropriately and correctly in the public meeting.
I appreciate that. So for me, I can't support it because I just don't understand the deducts from the 20 million.
Are you
Alex
finished,
Morris.
Commissioner Slover?
Hey, this is Commissioner Varga.
If, Aquarius, can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes or no? I can
Yes, continue.
hear you. The thing is, I need to hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, continue.
Okay, I want to go on record, and this is with the move.
You faded out again.
Into Potomac Gardens and Potomac Gardens Senior Building. On me. Commissioner Council?
This is the court reporter. I'm not getting any of this because she's cut out.
You're roaming. You're still roaming, Aquarius.
Okay. In the near future, I will be doing these meetings at 11:33 while you all are doing it at home. I will be doing them at 11:33.
Now you're clear. Whatever you did, you came through clear, the whole sentence.
You heard me?
Yes, whatever you done, you're clear now. You want to try again?
Thank you. I'm gonna try again. When it comes to 700 in the senior building, when it comes to our RAD is going to be unit compliant. We have a high vacancy rate. The housing authority is not to move anybody in our units. If you move anybody in our units, then you have failed our plan. The way our plan is now, we can be on site without vacancy rate, and we can move from unit to unit while you fix up units. If you live on 1213 for I Street, you will move and you're not in unit compliance. Your family may be broken up, but somebody can take a 2-bedroom in 700, and the head of household would take a 1-bedroom in the senior building. It is very essential that 700 in the senior building remain as is for 15 years to allow this process to take place again, and the next generation will sit at this table. If the housing authority decides to do a section 19, it will be on 12th, 13th, and I, which will already have a clear and precise number of how many units is involved. My constituents will not take local vouchers. My constituents want federal vouchers. We have already assessed the price of our land, and many of us have already lived here over the 30-year life cycle. We are presently in process of finding us an attorney to make sure that our RAD is unique. All of the RADs in the District of Columbia housing portfolio is different than any RAD in the United States because you still remain with your 24 CFR rights. You will already have the right to organize, the right to get resident participation funds, the right to continue to be the authorized agents of your CSC, the right to do your vendoring or own a vendoring machine by the corporation of your resident council. If anyone want to challenge me from Texas, from one state to the other, no other housing authority has drafted or created their RAD, such as the District of Columbia Housing Authority. Montana is not a RAD. I want to make sure that a lot of the residents in Montana actually think they have a RAD. Colorado is a RAD. It has a resident council that still has its public Indian rights. Columbia Road still has its public and Indian rights. No other, and I want to really emphasize this, no other housing authority, and correct me, Greg Mays, because you came from Texas. Texas, which is a 100% RAD, do not have a RAD craft as the existing RAD of the District of Columbia Housing Authority. I want to make sure that's in the minutes and it's there. We can move on.
We can speak offline, Commissioner, but Texas is not a completely RAD.
Thank you. But
yes.
I thought El Paso, Texas was a complete RAD because I have their portfolio in my house. And we interviewed their director who informed us that El Paso, Texas was 100% RAD, and Commissioner Slover and Commissioner Council were the two other commissioners that interviewed that particular director who said that El Paso was a 100% RAD. So correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you so much.
Deborah Frazier, are you on? You wanted to speak on the resolution? Deborah Frazier? Okay. Let's take a vote on resolution. Let's take a vote on resolution 2109. Alethea.
Mr. Vice Chair, please ask for a motion.
Okay. Like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All that says, all in favor, aye?
I'll do the roll call vote now,
Aye.
Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ortiz-Goud? Commissioner Ortiz-Goud? I'll circle back. Commissioner Falchecchio?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I got you, Commissioner Ortiz-Goud. Let the record reflect that he said yes as well. Commissioner Bussey Reeder?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Council?
No.
Commissioner Talaferro? Commissioner Talaferro, are you there? I'll circle back. Commissioner Van Gossel?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Commissioner Talaferro, what is your vote?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Gossel?
No.
Commissioner Hoffman? I can't hear you, Commissioner.
No.
Commissioner Slover? Commissioner Slover?
I'm having technical, I vote no.
Thank you. Chairman Albert?
Yes.
You have 5 yes and 5 no. The resolution is not approved.
Okay, resolution 2110. Ms. Punter?
Good afternoon, Director, Council, Commissioners, and colleagues. So I'm before you today to present 2 resolutions. I'll do 2110 first and then pass it back over to Vice Chair. So the purpose of Resolution 2110 is to authorize formal adoption of COVID-19 waivers, establish alternative requirements for 2 statutory and implementing regulations available under PIH Notice 2021-14 that have been informally adopted by DCHA to ensure continuity of operations of the Housing Choice Voucher and public housing programs. And this resolution will also allow us to amend the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan to include such waivers. On September 9, 2020, the board voted unanimously to formally adopt 19 COVID-19 waivers under Resolution 2014. So as it relates to the newest notice that was issued on May 4th, 2021, PIH Notice 2021-14 supersedes all previously issued HUD COVID-19 waiver notices and extends the availability period of the waivers formally adopted by DCHA through December 31st, 2021. There are also a few waivers that are extended through June 30, 2022, and those are the waivers that include inspections and recertification. So in accordance with PIH Notice 2021-14, HUD allowed DCHA to informally adopt the statutory and regulatory waivers without the Board of Commissioners approval and as alternative requirements to put in place the informal processes. To that end, on June 28, 2021, DCHA informally adopted the following 2 waivers, and I come before you today to formally adopt these waivers. PH and HCV 8, the eligibility determination for income verification. This allows PHAs or public housing authorities to consider the self-certification as the highest form of income verifications at admissions. If approved, DCHA will circle back within 90 days of the eligibility determination to ensure that the income is accurate. PH and HCV 9 eligibility determination is for Social Security numbers, citizenship, birth dates, and for disability. And public housing authorities through HUD's waiver is allowed to also again accept self-certifications for the birth date, disability, Social Security numbers, and citizenship. And within 90 days, again, housing authorities will go back and ensure that we have verified this information. These 2 waivers allow for us to swiftly move forward with eligibility determination so that families can be approved for housing. If these 2 waivers are approved, these waivers, as the availability period for these waivers will be through the end of this calendar year, as mentioned before. Are there any questions? And I can turn it back over.
I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
I believe one of our residents, Mrs. Frazier, has a comment on that resolution. Ms. Frazier, are you online? Okay, let's proceed. Make a motion.
There's a motion and a second.
Okay, I'll continue with the roll call vote for Resolution 2110. Commissioner Ortiz-Gal,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Council,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Strickland,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Slover, Commissioner Slover, are you there? I'll circle back. Commissioner Bessie Reeder, Commissioner Bessie Reeder,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Falchecchio,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Von Gossary, Commissioner Von Gossary,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
thank you. I'll circle back to Commissioner Slover. Are you there? Okay, Chairman Albert.
Yep.
Thank you. We have 9 yes, the resolution is approved.
Did Commissioner Slover not vote?
No, there was no response.
Okay, our next resolution, Ms. Punter.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair. Resolution 2111 focuses on the emergency housing vouchers. So on March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 was signed into law, and it provides over $1.9 trillion in relief to address the continued impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Section 3202 of the American Rescue Plan, or ARP, appropriates $5 billion for new incremental emergency housing vouchers, or EHV. On May 5th, 2021, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development issued notice PIH 2021-15 that sets forth the operating requirements for the emergency housing vouchers. EHVs are described as one of several resources that communities can use to house individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness or have unstable housing. Public housing authorities are required by HUD to work with community partners to determine the best use of targeting for the vouchers, along with other resources in the community. Per HUD, public housing authorities must enter into a memorandum of understanding with the lead continuum of care. And in the district's case, the lead continuum of care is the Community Partnership for the Prevention of Homelessness, also referred to as TCP. Furthermore, on May 7th, 2021, HUD notified DCHA that it would receive an EHV allocation of 707 vouchers for an initial budget authority of $11.7 million. Now, as we know, based on budget authority, we may not be able to create a total of 107 units, but we will maximize the budget authority and house as many families and individuals as we can. Now, under the Memorandum of Understanding, the Continuum of Care, or TCP, is required to make direct referrals of qualified individuals and families to the housing authority that it determines falls under one of 4 categories: homelessness, at risk of homelessness, recently homeless, or domestic violent victims, and they have that protection. The COC, or TCP, is encouraged to offer or make connections to supportive services for families and individuals that are referred to the housing authority, including but not limited to short-term and long-term case management. And it's very, very important for me to let you know that PIH Notice 2021-15 makes it ever so clear that case management is not the responsibility of the housing authority, but the responsibility of the COC and the service providers that are making the referrals. The EHV waivers and alternative requirements and operating requirements that DCHA is seeking formal adoption of were informally adopted on June 28th. This allowed DCHA and the CLC to move forward with effectuating the MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding. Now, the following are the alternative operations that we're asking to adopt today. Number one is to allow the referrals to come through the Continuum of Care, or TCP, as required by HUD. The next is to only restrict or prohibit the approval or eligibility under two circumstances of those who are referred, based on HUD's, again, requirements. And that is if someone in the household has been convicted of a drug-related criminal activity of manufacturing or producing methamphetamines on a federal property, or if there is a lifetime registrant of sex offenses in the household. Those are the only two prohibitions for the program. As mentioned under Resolution 2110, income verification, that the self-certification is the highest level of income certification so that we can swiftly move through the applicants through the process of eligibility. Eligibility determination for Social Security number, citizenship, date of birth, and also birth date. Those two can be self-certified. And again, DCHA will have to go back and do the verifications to ensure that all the information is accurate within 90 days of being deemed eligible. There's no income targeting, meaning that DCHA or other housing authorities are not required to pull from the wait list 75% of extremely low households, and then your 25% of very low. Again, we're taking referrals, which is HUD's requirement for the program. We can also use, as another operating requirement, we can use a recently rent determination. Let me back up and strike that. Income determination that was conducted within the last 6 months for those who are in the rapid rehousing program or domestic violence victims, as long as the household actually certifies that the household members are the same and that the income is also the same. Pre-inspections are viable for 45 days instead of the 30 days. And the initial lease up can actually, or a lease agreement can be less than 12 months. Lastly, anyone deemed eligible for the program can actually port to another jurisdiction if they would like to. Now, again, these are the requirements through the notice that HUD has provided to operate the EHB program. So I come before you again today asking for the formal adoption of these waivers or operating requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Punter. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Alethea?
Thank you. Commissioner Bussey Reader?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Falchecchio?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ortiz-Gallo?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Council?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Von Gossry?
Yes.
Thank you. Is Commissioner Slover on?
Yes. I vote yes.
Thank you. Chairman Albert?
Yes, I vote yes.
Thank you. You have 9 yes, 1 no. The resolution is approved.
Thank you. Now, this is a part where we allow our constituents to come in and testify and share whatever it is they would like to share with us. Please keep in mind, it's about respecting one another. No name calling, and it's okay to be angry, but choose your word respectfully. If not, we're going to close your mic and continue on. With that being said, our first witness as tops. You have
Mr.
5
Chairman?
minutes. Excuse you?
I'm sorry, this is Brenda Donald. I just put on chat, if I could have 1 second
Yes.
for the
Go ahead.
record. Yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I was just trying to confirm with my staff, and I'm not sure I have it 100% correct, but I do need to go on record that the vote that the board just made, that resulted in denial of the moving to work FY22 plan puts at risk $230 million in HUD funding. That plan is due right away, and I just want to state for the record that we will be missing a deadline and the possibility of not receiving our funding allocation for moving to work. So
Good.
that's a comment. And
Well done.
well, that is unfortunate. We will
Director-
not be able to operate with the loss of that funding. And so I would ask the board if there's additional information that we can provide that would result in a reconsideration of that vote, whether we can do that today, or if we would need to call a special meeting. I don't think that this board is going to stand on losing $230 million in federal funding.
Director, what is the deadline?
The plan is due, Hannah, could you please remind me when the plan is due?
It's due tomorrow.
Before close of business
It's due
tomorrow? Before close of business tomorrow?
I don't have a specific time, but it is due tomorrow.
I would say that all of us that voted no to send out our questions and the reason why in ASAP, so the staff can actually put something together to send out through an email for us to have a call meeting by tomorrow.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
This is Neil. I mean, can we state our reasons on the record? I'm sure someone could make notes of that rather than send it through an email.
Okay. Well, I would say if those who can stay after we finish, Shanita, could you do another WebEx for us to come on and discuss this issue? Okay, thank you. Let's meet right after this BOC.
So, Mr. Chair, the options available to the board is to reconvene this meeting to have it scheduled for tomorrow or some other day, or move for a special board meeting. The ramifications of doing a special board meeting means it has to be posted and the number of hours, et cetera. If you do a reconvene, then you can possibly do it tomorrow.
Okay, so what do you advise us to do then?
Well, based on the commissioner's questions and how they feel, I recommend a reconvening. I think that a posting of a new meeting would add days to the deadline that is tomorrow.
Okay. Commissioners, are we all in agreement?
No, I'm not in agreement. I think if people have specific reasons why they voted against the resolution, that puts at risk $230 million for public housing residents, they should so state it now so that those issues could be addressed. Mr. Slovo was pretty articulate in his reasons, so we know what his reasons are. The other 4 commissioners who voted no, I don't think I heard an articulation of a rationale for voting no, so that there could have been a response from the staff to clear up any issues that they might have had. And so I think this is the forum in which to do it, not to call an additional meeting that requires additional notice, that brings up additional notice requirements. That's my position. I don't know what others how others feel about it.
Well, my position, if I may, Commissioner Albert, is that the staff set us up for this situation by presenting a resolution to us today that has to be approved by tomorrow, and not providing sufficient information to explain where this money is going.
Madam
So I wouldn't
Director,
blame us for being,
I hear you, and I agree that the timing for this is really short. But this is something that we vote on every year. Last year, we voted unanimously on this plan. There hasn't been a dramatic deviation from the plan from last year to this year. And you get a pass. You were not on the board last year, and so for your point, it's pretty relevant. But for everyone else that has been on this board the last 365 days, this is almost the identical plan that you all voted yes on last year. And so my recommendation is, one, if there's specific issues that you have, now is the time to articulate it so we can see if those could be answered. And if it can't be answered, then we could punt to another day. But I think we need to, we owe it to public housing residents, the people that we serve, to have an opportunity to make these funds available.
Mr. Albert. Mr.
Yes,
Albert,
sir.
I voted,
Yes, I
you
can
know
hear
what
you.
I voted, because I cannot trust DCHA directors. I cannot trust them no more. I don't got the trust of none of them except Donald. That's it. Because they doing a lot of stuff. They doing a lot of stuff. They always saying they doing things and things don't get done. So it's enough is enough.
Well, so
they're gonna do the
I
job.
hear you.
Let me finish. If they're going, we hire these people to do a job. All of a sudden, they don't want to do their jobs. So the way I see it, as if I was the owner of a business, they got to go. We got to find somebody better to do a job. The harassment from Director Williams, the harassment from Tyler about the fraud they doing in the election. They let the managers from the property runs it, and they ain't supposed to be in it. That's wrong. But we let it happen. So I'm still gonna vote no, because I don't trust none of them.
So, Commissioner Talafaro, I understand your position. I respect your position, but respectfully, this is an issue of funding rather than an issue of management and performance. And again, this just authorizes or gives DCHA the authority to get a substantial amount of resources for public housing residents. This is not a resolution that
we tried that. I'm here defending for the commissioners. I'm here fighting with the directors. They're not doing the job we asked for, and we just let it happen. And
So
I do not appreciate it, calling all the commissioners jokers. They jokes and all that, from Mr. Williams, Tyler, all of them. I do not trust them, and that's it.
So we have a new executive director, a new interim executive director who has been here for 3 weeks, who has not had the opportunity to demonstrate what she can and cannot do. I don't think it's fair to judge her and handicap her by not allowing this resolution to move forward. You heard from residents who didn't ask for it to not pass, but asked for changes to be made to it because they understand the value of this resolution. So I would kindly ask my colleagues to reconsider, put aside issues that you may have with the staff, and I have tons of issues with staff from time to time, but this is putting $232 million at stake.
How can you trust them with the money? How can you trust them with anything? Because all these lies, they did lies and cover up. I cannot support it.
does our CFO have the answers that Commissioner Slover was looking for?
We're getting that information right now, Commissioner.
That was, let the record show, my reason for saying no was because the money wasn't adding up. Not even that, not the fact, and you brought a good thing. This is something, and this is money that we're talking about, but at the same time, the staff had enough time for them to bring us something for us to actually look at. Don't put us at a stake, and I'll take the charge. because I'm one of them. And the money wasn't adding up. And these are things that the staff specifically and specialize. So don't bring us something at the 11th hour and you think that we won't say no.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, if I could, we did present this, the plan and a briefing to the, I believe it was the Finance Committee 2 weeks ago. And we had the same level of budget detail. We also, of course, had, we loaded it in onto the board portal for everyone to review. And then we had a pretty good discussion, I thought, at the brown bag, and the issues that were flagged regarding the one particular budget item those issues were not flagged in the brown bag. We perhaps would have had a chance to make sure that we were articulating correctly and making sure that the information we were providing addressed those questions, but that was thrown in the middle of a discussion. And so and then other commissioners voted no and didn't state their other objections. Again, this is something that is it's putting the whole authority and all of our resources at risk. And Mr. Taliaferro, Commissioner, I do appreciate your concerns, and you and I have talked quite a bit about them, and appreciate you're giving me a chance to respond to staff and performance issues. But as Chairman Albert said, this is about funding. This is about the resources that go directly to support our ability to house our residents. This is the bulk of our funding. And so we won't be able to go forward without an approved plan, and to hold it up based on and some questions raised about one small item of funding. I just want the board to be clear about what's at stake here.
John, can you clear that answer up for us to revote or reconsider?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the answer, Commissioner, but I do have a proposal if, and I'm not sure, I'm actually, I haven't consulted anyone with that, but if we have the $1.3 million in question here, I think that was Commissioner Slover's main concern, and that is a RAD conversion, a pre-development cost, as I understood from OCP. If that is the amount that is in question, so what I would say is, knowing how RAD conversions work, usually we recoup or can recoup pre-development costs from closing. So in other words, we can do without pulling that money out of capital funds. So if we were to remove that line item from our table, would that change the votes?
And put the money where?
Commissioner Hoffman, I would ask OCP to answer that, but that will give us an additional $1.3 million in capital funds that we could utilize for our own capital needs. So that'll be put back into the properties.
That's all.
John, this is Alex. I'm fine with doing that. I, have no dog in the race either way. My only concern then would be that this has been presented to citywide advisory and to the public. Does it mean we have to go back through the public comment process if we change the
Alex,
cap?
this is a public meeting, and this is on record. So I would not raise that as an issue. I would think if this addresses the commissioner's concerns about the $1.3 million, that money is then going to go back to capital, that we hopefully have addressed that concern and can ask for reconsideration of the vote, please.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, how do you want to deal with the resolution?
Reconsider. Reconsider. Let us vote again. Reconsider, because John.
All right, motion to reconsider.
Second.
And we're reconsidering a revised resolution, taking out this line item and putting that back into undesignated capital funds to use for our properties generally.
Wouldn't that be the next step, though? First, we reconsider, and then you change, make the amendment. Is that correct, Mr. Mays?
That is correct, Commissioner. First,
So motion,
reconsideration, and then the consideration of a revision, and then the motion, second motion, and then any comments from public, and then the board vote.
so I'll move make the motion, I should say, to reconsider.
Public comment.
Not yet. The other motion is to revise the resolution to reflect the $1.3 million revision.
But we need to make the motion. We need to take a vote to reconsider in order to come back to.
There's no second.
So,
Motion
I
to
think
reconsider.
second.
Seconded.
You seconded.
Okay.
Strickland.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do a roll call again for the reconsideration of this.
And
Commissioner.
I'm sorry, just to point of clarification, we are just basically voting to reopen this discussion.
Correct.
Just to get it comfort. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Strickland. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Commissioner Strickland. Thank you. Commissioner Ortiz Gao.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Falchecchio.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Bussey Reeder.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Council. Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro.
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Gossry. Commissioner Van Gossry, are you there? I'll circle back. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Clover.
Yes.
I'll circle back to Commissioner Van Gossry. Are you there? Okay, Chairman Albert.
Yes.
Okay, I have 8 yes, 1 no, and no response for Commissioner Van Gossry to reopen this discussion on.
I'm sorry, Alethea, it's Commissioner Ortiz. Did he vote?
Yes, he voted yes.
Okay, thank you.
There are 8 yes, 1 no, no response from Commissioner Van Gossry and so this is approved to reopen the discussion for 2109.
Okay, now I go back and ask for a motion for us to vote again, correct?
Actually,
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if I could just interject for a second. I know there were some outstanding questions that you and other commissioners wanted the opportunity to get a response to. And so if you don't mind, I would ask that you indulge the other commissioners in asking their questions.
Are there any other questions from the other commissioners?
just the one, can we just be clear on what the revision is that we're making?
1.3 is being moved, taken off and moved.
And it's just being moved to undesignated capital as opposed to specific purpose.
Correct.
Yes.
Can I ask a question here? This is
Yes.
Commissioner Shea. You know, I just don't Neil, our Chairman Albert, I know you say we all voted this affirmatively, but this is an issue I've raised every single time we've gone through this process. You know, we hear year in and year out about how we don't have enough money to support our projects. We don't have enough money to do the maintenance. That's why they're falling apart. We don't get enough money from HUD. And yet the money we do get from HUD, what drops to the bottom line is 60, 50, sometimes 70% moved off into some other bucket. And so for me, when I see $20 million turning into 8, that tells to me what the priorities of this agency are. And, you know, we used to be taking $4 million out for the police department out of our capital budget, which made no sense. And so I thought we had that taken out, but now I see half of it's back. And so I don't understand why we're funding the police out of our capital budget.
Commissioner, again, I'm not sure about that either, but you will have opportunity through the HUD FY22 budget process that is coming before you, I believe, in August, and where we will have all of that laid out, and then the board will be able to make an informed decision based on a more transparent budget process. But I would say that this package that is before you that is tied to the FY22 moving to work plan has is consistent with what the board has approved before and the projects that are part of that particular plan. You will have the whole big HUD budget before you within a matter of weeks. And we can go through line by line, category by category, but I commit that that will be a transparent process and that the board will be able to thoroughly vet that, as I'm going to do before I bring it before you. I'm just asking that now we have addressed the primary issue that you raised as far as this plan is concerned. If the board would please move forward on this, and then we will come back to you with the entire budget, and you'll be able to look at it and be able to make its decisions based on the complete budget.
I've been on this board a really long time, and I've heard that exact same thing probably 20 times. And what happens is it doesn't happen. And so I realize you just got here, and I realize you might do things differently, but year in and year out, we end up in the same place. And so the $1.3 million was not my sole concern. My sole concern is $20 million of capital funds turning into $8 million, which is 20 million isn't enough. Certainly 8 isn't. And so again, it's the priorities of the agency year in and year out, which result in our portfolio and our properties being in the condition that they are. And so at some point, the board needs to say, well, enough's enough. And so that's my position.
Mr. Vice Chair, do you want to take any public comment on the question?
I have a question though.
Chair Focchio, and then we're going to let our public witness question us, which is Ms. Frazier. Go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you. No, I was just going to ask again, just to make a point of clarification for the process here. We have to submit this by tomorrow in order to access $230 million, right? And then how we're going to actually spend it, we still have some flexibility in that after this vote today. So I don't know, Director Donald, do you want to speak to that, or because I think what we're saying by voting no is we're actually withholding resource from our residents of $230 million over somewhere between $8 and $20 million, that we want to still discuss. So I guess I'm just asking, just to be clear, voting no is voting no to $230 million of federal resource.
Come from.
That is my understanding, and the $8 million reference for the portion of the HUD budget that goes for public safety is not even part of this moving to work plan. So we are talking about two related but different things on different timetables. And what is before us now is the FY22 moving to work plan that has been reviewed, previewed, vetted, and discussed in multiple public forums. It's an update to the larger plan, or this year's update to the larger plan.
I think
Director, so then Director Donald, what would the agency do without $230 million from HUD? or maybe this is for John, Sarah, I'm not sure.
Yes, I'd like my CFO to answer that question. I think we would have to cease to operate, but obviously we'd have to make some we'd have to go back to the drawing board and I mean, everything is at risk. And that's a substantial part of our budget.
There's no $200 million referenced in this resolution. There is 20 million.
I'm sorry. I had a question for the CFO.
Commissioner Falchicchio, so the MTW plan, which secures our funding for the next fiscal year, is basically how we can operate both public housing and HCV recipients and residents. Or help out the recipients and residents. So without that funding, I mean, we do have about 2 months worth of reserves, a little bit less maybe, but that's all we can do. So without that funding, this agency cannot help the people it's supposed to help.
And just one final question, I think.
I have a question for that.
Just one final question, and I think as a follow-up to that, if I could. So you say we have 2 months reserve. What would happen after the 2 months then?
I have a question with that. How can we trust anybody?
Hold on, Telepharo.
How can we? Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. How can I?
Let him finish his question.
It's just one
no,
final.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's just that final question. After we use the 2 months of reserve, what would happen?
So, Commissioner, we're more of a pass-through entity. We really receive funding from HUD and we pay it out almost immediately. And in many cases, if that funding is not received, not only we cannot help our residents and our constituents, but we cannot operate as an agency. So, I mean, if that scenario was to happen, if that catastrophic scenario was to happen, then the agency will just stop.
Yeah, or go into federal receivership, if that's what.
Good.
That's what this. Well, for the record, someone said good.
Okay, John Pacheco, were you done?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Vice Chair.
All right. Telepharo?
I understand what they're saying, but last year we approved something and it's still not going right. So then they're going to throw stuff down our throats in the next 24 hours? No, that's not right. The tenants are not being taken care of, and they say they are. I don't see it. So I'm still going to vote no. Because the money goes all over the place, and nobody knows where it's at, how the money's going, and everything. How can you trust anybody with money and they can't even do their job? Thank you.
Commissioner Hoffman?
How does failing to approve this $20 million plan put $200 million at risk, please?
All right.
Director Donald, would you like me to answer that?
Yes, John.
Commissioner, so this is the MTW plan, and according to our MTW agreement with HUD, we do have certain deadlines that we have to meet, including submitting a plan for the next fiscal year by July 15th of every year. So I do understand where all of you are coming from, and I get why this conversation is happening, but I think this resolution is more important for our residents to put in the balance of this. And I do understand that you are probably frustrated that we should have taken this resolution to you last month. And that's maybe something we can work on, but be it as it is, there is $1.3 million that I see being disputed. We're taking that out. So If that is the only problem that you have with the plan, then I would really urge you to reconsider and vote for yes.
I just want an honest answer. Somebody told Director Donald that our entire HUD allocation is at risk if we don't approve this plan today or tomorrow. And I don't find that credible, and I don't think you have responded to that.
Okay, so let me respond to it in this way. We do have a deadline to submit this tomorrow. And if we don't submit it tomorrow, we will not lose immediate funding because we're still drawing down on funds from last year's plan. So we're not gonna lose funding tomorrow if we don't submit it. But I mean, it really puts us under HUD's mercy on whether they will accept a delayed submission for that
But
plan or
I
not.
think that's not the point. The point is that the approval of the MTW annual plan triggers the allocation of our annual HUD funding. That is what I was told. If that is incorrect, then I stand corrected, but that is what I understand and believe that is to be correct, that this puts at risk, which is the way I have described it, the entire $230 million because we are an MTW jurisdiction, and if we do not have an approved MTW plan, then we're not eligible for the next round of funding.
I'd like to know who told you that, and will they get on here and tell me that? Because I find that, I mean, we are under HUD's gun for 3 other things that I've heard about today. Probably more. This seems to be just one more.
So, Commissioner, I'm one of the people who informed Director Donald of that. I know how HUD is really strict about their deadlines, and I don't want to miss a deadline on something that big with them. And I don't really like DCHA to be in in that position.
Perhaps if you could clarify how the 20 million fits into the broader 230 within the MTW plan, like everything else that's covered in there. I think that's the clarity the commissioner might be looking for.
It's the capital budget. I mean, I think we understand it.
Right. So yeah, I don't think there was a question on how it fits within that. I think the question was more on the $1.3 million.
I think Commissioner Hoffman was questioning where the 20 million versus the 230. So the 230 being for everything that's covered under the MTW versus just the capital portion. So the MTW plan approval, which is being sought today, is for the entirety.
But it doesn't say that. We aren't told that. We're told we're approving $20 million.
I'm sorry, this is Alex Morris. Could I take a shot at this, please? Stop me if I start going off the track here. But I think the point is, as an MTW agency, every year we are required to submit a plan, an annual plan. The failure to submit it by the mandated deadline of July 15th puts us in a higher level of scrutiny with HUD, in jeopardy of losing our annual subsidy. That's the point. It doesn't mean that the tap would shut off on the 16th, but it does put us in a terrible position with HUD because we are mandated to do this every year. And the capital fund, which is only just over 20 million of the total subsidy, is in dispute. And I understand that the 1.3 million is a piece of contention here, but think about the bigger picture, folks. If we say no to HUD and we don't submit this tomorrow, we're putting ourselves in a higher level of scrutiny with our federal regulatory agency over our basic ability to perform annual functions, which everybody else does. So I think we need to keep focused.
I think the staff has to think of that when they're preparing material for us. And I think you're not thinking of it.
Exactly. I agree.
Hello, public comment.
Mr. Vice Chair, you can decide to go through any other commissioner statements or take public comment.
I have a, this is Dion Bussey Reader. I have a comment
Go ahead,
before we
Commissioner.
go to public statements.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I am concerned that we're willing to risk this amount of money because we have not received the documents at a decent time. We all agree that that's a problem. However, we're putting the entire organization at risk today from possibly losing $230 million. Is that what this commission wants to do in this crisis that we're in at the moment? I think we're making a very poor decision based on what we have not received today. This is not how we're going to be able to move this forward under the interim director. I think we're making a huge mistake if we allow ourselves to make a decision based on what a previous administration has done, not the new interim director. I think we're making a bad decision.
Can I say something about that? It's not right for y'all to shove stuff in our face and say it's okay.
Can the
It's not
public
right.
make a comment?
Commissioner Teleferro, I am a commissioner. I'm not a y'all. I am a commissioner.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I
you.
haven't met you.
I announced who I was, Dion Bussey Reader. So if you're
Can the
speaking to me
public make a
directly,
comment?
We will.
me directly,
Please,
Mr. Commissioner
allow us
Teleferro,
to
please
finish. We
direct
have
your
not
comments to
forgotten about
me.
the public.
Y'all all sitting on the board. You're human beings before you are whatever.
Commissioners, are you done with your questioning?
Commissioner, it don't matter right
Vice Chair, can I?
Frazier? Ms. Frazier?
Mr. Vice Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes.
This is Neil.
Yes. Commissioner
Thank you.
Albert?
So, yes, so I just want to remind folks, because I've heard a lot of statements about not being briefed today. I just want to remind folks that in May, this board was notified by email, May 26th to be precise, of the amendment to the FY22 Move to Work plan. Additionally, on June 9th, again, notice by email and information and diligence, which is our board book, was placed about the MTW plan. And then there was a briefing by, I think, the Ops Committee on July 1 or July 2, I can't remember which date. Unfortunately, I could not make that meeting. But there were at least 3 separate either correspondences or meetings at which this plan was discussed. Now, I understand that not everyone is available at all times, right? And so the purpose, one of the reasons that we have what we call a brown bag meeting at the start of before board meetings, which last for about 2 hours, is to fill in the gaps with commissioners who have not had an opportunity to be briefed in a committee. And so I just want the public to know that while the staff was briefing some people today on the commission, there are others that had the opportunity to be briefed on this before. But nevertheless, Madam Executive Director, I think a point that everyone is making is that the DCHA staff has to provide us with more time, a better time frame to receive information, digest the information, and have the ability to make the decisions that you guys would like us to make. So, you know, we've said over and over that it would be great to be briefed on an issue a month or so in advance. I mean, by brief, I mean thoroughly briefed, a month or so in advance of the board meeting, not necessarily the day of or the day before, as has happened in this case. But I just want to put it on the record that we as a board have had access to this material and have the opportunity to be briefed on this material before today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Mr. Vice Chair, you have the option to consider any other commissioner questions or go to public comment.
I'm going straight to public. Ms. Frazier is the only one that signed up to speak on resolutions, and then we'll go for the vote, and then we'll go with public testimonies. Ms. Frazier?
Hi there. First,
I validate the board. Some of you were elected by the mayor. Some of you were elected by residents. You have the full right to decide what you do with DC Housing Authority. And we trust you. You are trusted by the mayor, obviously trusted by the residents to make the best decisions for us. If you believe this is not a good deal, then you certainly have the right not to agree with it. There, for me as a public, there's ambiguous language like anticipated properties, and the language says approval of this does not constitute board approval, and you may submit something about the properties. What are the anticipated properties? Now, I'm the one who, when interim director Donald said, "Oh, we may go into receivership," that might not be a bad thing. Because from the residents' point of view, the board is dysfunctional because, as Commissioner Albert mentioned, there have been multiple opportunities to look at this material. Month after month after month, the board members show up, obviously unprepared, obviously unclear, obviously not aware of the language of the resolution. When we went to receivership before, and some of us remember that, the leadership, the operations, the function of housing authority improved. It improved. So receivership may not be a bad thing. Let's also note that there of all of the housing authorities in the country, the Moving to Work group is a small section of select high-performing housing authorities. It does not seem likely that not approving this plan is going to will be put in a bad light from HUD. They may look at us differently, but as a star agency, as a Moving to Work agency for 10 years, I don't believe that they're going to take away the other $200 million. And as Alexander said, we'll be under a higher level of scrutiny. But that doesn't say, HUD's going to say, they didn't approve the work plan, take away all their money. No, politically, that would be political suicide, perhaps for HUD. I don't believe that's what happened. So I say, board members, stand your ground. If you have the confidence of the mayor, you got the confidence of the residents to deny this Moving to Work, even if you take out the 1.3. Stand on that. And interim directors and commissioners, you all come and go. We are on the ground with residents all the time, so you get to do that. And I validate your decisions to vote your conscience, and don't be pressured because we may lose money. I may have voted for Biden. You come and pay me to vote for Trump. No, I made my decision, and some of you vote your conscience, stand by your decision, and let's go. Also, let's note, you all got unspent money. There's money in that could be reallocated. You got money that the interim director said, I just won't spend the money from repairs that hasn't been spent yet. And as the other commissioner said, there's money laying around that you all haven't effectively used in other areas. So that's my comment. I do agree.
Mr. Vice Chair, at this point, you may consider a motion to have the resolution revised for consideration by the board.
Can I ask,
make a motion?
Actually, Vice Chair, can I ask a question before we go to that? What we may move now, this motion, I guess to move actually this item, what other edits raise the comfort level with those who were not comfortable the first time around. The 1.3 million has obviously been addressed. Is there other language that we need in order to get this motion to be successful?
Commissioners, you heard the question. Anybody want to weigh in on it?
I'll just repeat the same thing I said before, Commissioner Falchico. I appreciate the effort. You know, year in and year out, whenever this issue comes up, I say the same thing over and over and over again, which is got to stop taking from this fund and funding other things. We can't, on the one hand, say we don't have enough money to you know, HUD doesn't give us enough money to maintain our projects and our properties, and at the same time divert those funds that we do get to things that are not capital expenditures. And so, you know, it's tough to see us do this time and time again, because it sets the priority and the tone and the tenor of what's important to us. And what's important to me, and I think to most of us, and to all of us, I hope, is maintaining these properties. And we can't do it with 20 million. We certainly can't do it with 8.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm asking for. And I don't think I think we need to stay focused on that. We have these discussions, we have these moments in time, year in and year out, and then we have them again and again and again. And so the question becomes, when are we going to not have to have these discussions, because the agency is actually focusing on what we've asked them to focus on?
So I guess, Commissioner, then the question is, do we want to say no to the 8 do we put the 8 at risk? Because that's what we're doing then too. We're saying no, that we don't want the 8 million even by voting no today.
John, what I'm saying is we want a different approach. We want responsiveness. We want to get focused on the things we'd like to get focused on. If we got to say no to all of it to get to that, that's what you got to do.
But that also puts us at jeopardy of getting into a non-compliant status with HUD, and that jeopardizes even more than what's before us today.
Some of us don't think that the agency is moving in the right direction, and so, you know, maybe that's what it takes to get us to move in that direction.
Word.
You know,
and we're putting it
exactly.
And this is
going in the right direction. Sometimes you got to feel a little pain to get going in the right direction.
I fear that the pain will be felt not by the folks who are on this, but the residents of the housing authority.
John, they've been feeling that pain for years. We haven't been doing the service.
We already feeling pain.
The residents have already been affected.
It's time to get focused on the residents. And by continuing to say, we'll just do it next time, we'll deal with it next time, don't worry, let's just do this one thing because we'll get it right next time. But we don't get it right next time.
Word.
At some point, we have to stand up for the residents. That's who we're doing this for. I'm not doing it for myself.
This saying no to federal funding is not standing up for the residents. It's
John,
it's not. We've had this before, as Chairman Albert said, we've had this before us since late May. And we also find ourselves now saying no at the last minute when we have before us something that will get us funding, or we could just say no, and then we are saying no to federal funding that is not for us, but for our residents.
We've got to change the equation somehow.
Well, we have as a board. We changed the leadership. We changed the leadership of the agency.
I don't believe
that's how we
The only change you made for leadership is Ms. Donald, but other people under her are doing their own bids, and that's no change. Y'all keep bringing stuff to us. Let me finish, because I'm about to get upset. Y'all bringing stuff to us, then there be all these lies. Then the money don't go here, the money don't go there. That's still hurting the residents. So I'm not going to vote for something that is a lie.
Mr. Vice Chair, do you want to consider a motion
And
to revise, or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and
I would like to suggest we drop out everything and put the $20 million into the capital budget. Even though we haven't determined where it's going to go, but why should we be doing debt service out of this? I don't know.
Great question.
That I'm sorry, this is Alex. I'm the Chief of Planning, Design, and Construction. My understanding is the 5.63 million in debt service is for our CFFP bond that was taken out by the agency in 2005. I don't think we can choose not to pay that back. It's money paid back to HUD. I don't think we have that option. So I just want to put that out there before you consider
We
that.
have to take it out of this allocation and not the 200 million that we're getting. It has to
I'm
come
not
out of
sure,
capital funds.
So Commissioner Hoffman, given the fact that, as we learned before, the MTW block grant is a block grant. I don't think it's an accounting trick if you want to say, let's not take it out of here, let's take it out of somewhere else, but there's no somewhere else. It's one pot of money, and we have to pay the money back. We borrowed against our future capital fund, and we have to pay the bonds off. That would be another act of default. So
Okay, can
whether
we
you put
take
it in
out
here or
everything? Can we eliminate everything except that?
I defer
So
to
at
John
least we have
Sarah on that
15.
question.
I'm
Okay,
sorry?
I would like to defer to John Sarah on that question because he's the financial officer. He can answer that better than I can.
I would just say if
that look like?
it's now to revisit the entire plan, we will miss the deadline. We will have to go back through the process that HUD lays out in order to have a plan approved. So we're adding to, if you want to throw everything out and start from scratch, we can't do it here in this board meeting. There's going to be a whole process involved in that. And so if that's what the board decides to do, I'm just asking if the board will vote on the proposal in front of you, and then we'll have to make the adjustments. If this gets voted down, we'll have to go back to HUD. We'll have to consider the implications. But if you want to completely turn it upside down, we will not miss the deadline. That's essential. That's in essence voting no. And I think that's what's in front of you all now is the vote.
Could somebody articulate what resolution we are voting on? We're dropping out the 1.3 million.
Greg, can you do that?
Yeah, there needs to be a motion made to revise the resolution, and then after the revisions are agreed to by the commissioners, then the vote to be taken.
Well, I think we have to put in the motion what the revisions are.
Correct.
That revision was to delete the $1.3 million and to reallocate that for unspecified capital funding. That is what I understand is before you.
I will move that resolution.
Okay, so there needs to be a motion to revise the resolution.
You
And
just
then
moved it.
okay, the specific revisions are what exactly?
What was
The
just stated?
Revision is to drop out the $1.3 million for RAD conversion funds and to reallocate that to other capital needs.
That's the motion. Is there a
That's
second?
the motion.
Is there a second to the
All
motion?
right.
Second.
Second.
Alethea?
Okay, we'll do this again in the same order. Commissioner Strickland? Commissioner Strickland?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I have you. Yes, thank you. Commissioner Ortiz-Goud? Commissioner Ortiz-Goud? I'll circle back. I believe he's there, but I didn't hear anything. Commissioner Falchecchio?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bussey Reeder?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Council?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Gossary?
Okay, no.
Commissioner Van Gossary? I'll circle back. Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Slover,
No.
thank you. Commissioner Ortiz Gal, are you
Yes.
there? Okay, yes, thank you. Commissioner Van Gossary, trying her again. I see her listed, but I don't.
She stated in the chat that she's roaming and she can't hear. So I don't know if we want to respond to her in the chat.
I'll defer to Mr. Mays if her last.
Commissioner, if the commissioner can voice her vote of yes or no in the chat, then we would take it. We also note if there are any public statements to be made on this revision. Mr. Chair, do you have any?
No.
Okay.
Okay, and Chairman Albert.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have a vote for Commissioner Van Gossary, but I have 7 yes and 2 no for the revision of Resolution 2109.
Okay. As a result, the resolution passes.
Okay, we come to the point where we have our constituents to actually testify. Constituents have 5 minutes, non-residents have 3 minutes. Our first one is Tops.
I can't. Wait, I gotta go.
Okay, next one, Patricia Malloy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Interim Director Brenda Donald. My name is Patricia Malloy, President of Lincoln Heights. Today, I'm here to speak on upkeep of property. More staff is needed to keep buildings clean, trimming bushes and trees and vegetation off of building and fence line during the summer months. Lincoln Heights is very hilly and a lot of common areas, front and back to be clean and cut. Grass need cutting around vacant townhouses on 50th Street. Lincoln Heights is on a bus route, U5, U6. I know we are not the only property with these issues in your inventory. I guess the staff is doing the best they can with what they have. I have had a conversation with Mr. Moody. He is working on a plan to help us with some of the issues I have mentioned. But right now, I really think that someone needs to sit down and make a decision. Because Lincoln Heights is one of the 10 properties that filed a lawsuit against the Housing Authority. We have been promised so much until right now I am so confused. My next concern was the process for resident council election. Lincoln Heights resident meeting was last night. I just found out about the resident meeting on Monday, which was the 12th. Information was not disseminated on the property within a timely manner, and it was not fair to us as residents. That concludes my that concludes my testimony. After hearing the comments in regards to the resolution, I feel that our board or someone is very confused. I'm confused right now to say, do anyone have the residents' interests at heart? We are human beings. We are living, to me, in a very crisis situation. We're living under conditions that could have been resolved years and years ago. And I wish every resident was able to hear this commissioner meeting today. It's very hurting and confusing that our DCHA, the nation's capital, treats its public housing residents the way that they are being treated. And
Exactly.
It is really hurtful. It's really hurtful, Interim Director Donald. If only you all really understood, we, the residents, are the ones that's being affected by any decision that anybody made. We are not getting what we deserve. And I think that it's very hardening. You all are forcing us to pay rent, and we are not being treated as though we are human. We are being treated as though we are cattle. We are people. Respect us. Communicate with us. Don't make decisions for us and think we're supposed to abide by them. You want us to do what we're supposed to do as residents, as our landlord. Treat us the way you want to be treated. I'm very hurt after hearing this hearing from our commissioners. I'm very hurt. That's all I have to say.
Can I say something to that?
Where Teleferro?
She is correct. She is absolutely correct. Y'all hurting the residents and y'all don't see it. Then y'all throw stuff in our face 24 hours to do something. No, we need a change from the top down because some of your directors don't understand. And she have that right, and I do agree with her. I see it. I'm on the ground and I see it. Nobody, and they take me for a joke. I'm not joking no more.
Thank you, Ms. Malloy. Deborah Frazier. Deborah Frazier. Heather Day. Leonard Ward.
I'm sorry, Ms. Frazier is having technical difficulties. She's going to try to get back on.
Okay. Ms. Hyde.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
State your name, please.
Good day, commissioners. Oh, 1 second. I have to take it off. Good day, commissioners. My name is Ms. Shantae Hyde. I'm the president of the council at Park Morton. And hello, Madam Director Donald. Thank you, as always, for the opportunity to speak today. I want to first acknowledge Mr. Fashad Tyler of the Office of Resident Services. Excuse me, his encouraging demeanor, infectious smile, his committed love and faith, and his prompt response to the resident council presidents and our residents is the ideal type of customer service that we value. I can only speak for myself when I say that Mr. Fashad deserves a promotion for his long-standing service to DCHA. Thank you, Mr. Fashad, for everything that you do. Now, I want to address the issue surrounding the confusion with the Park Morton redevelopment or lack thereof. Since the mayor made the decision to remove NCI, there were discussions around renovating Park Morton under RAD. Now the former plan, excuse me, now the former plan is back on the table. I have to tell you that as president, this is highly frustrating, as many of our residents have already been displaced due to this perplexing situation. I fear that if this continues, none of our former residents will have the hope that they had once had in ever seeing a return to their longtime home. Ephesians 1:19, 1:44. Your testimonies are righteous forever, and give me understanding that I may live. Also, with the resident council elections coming up, every resident should have the opportunity to apply to run in the elections. If Park Morton residents who took a voucher under the redevelopment umbrella plan are supposed to remain as residents, then how are they supposed to be reached by their standing president to give them the instructions? Why am I not giving keys to the announcement boxes on site that I fought to have installed so that I may place information for the remaining on-site residents to see? Under the direction of new management, I expect better things to happen, more transparency in the communications between myself and DCHA, as well as allowing residents the choice of what is best for their lives. Everything I have ever advocated for has always been about the residents, where they see themselves in the future and what we all collectively want for our children. And again, in regards to the Move to Work plan, it's clear that the Park Morton Equity Plan works as we have established for-profit and nonprofits at Park Morton. And I would like to close with Galatians 6:10. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith. I am Ms. Shante High, the president of the council at Park Morton, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. High. Gonna double back. Has Ms. Frazier gotten her audio together to speak yet?
Am I on? Am I on?
You are.
Wait. You got me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So this is Deborah Frazier from Caper Carlsberg, Failed Hope 6, and Housing Advocate. Okay, 1, election. As you have heard from others and as we're hearing on the street, a lot of the public housing properties did not get the materials for the election. They didn't get that in a timely manner, and June 30th is too late. Would you all consider extending that deadline to apply to July 30th, because it is important, as we talk about community engagement, to give our 8,000 public housing residents an opportunity to participate in leadership. So a lot of folks didn't get it. You heard some people on here that didn't get their applications and opportunities and didn't get the explanation. Office of Resident Services or somebody, please consider extending that deadline. Second, when do we get to elect the resident commissioners on the board? I'll wait for an answer. Anybody know that?
Commissioners election is 22. 21
oh, it's not
is
until 22.
residents. Correct.
Okay, good. Answered that. Next thing, God, what was the next thing? Oh, can we, would the board consider putting a non-affiliated resident on the search committee for the new director? Leaving that out there for y'all to think about that. Because we're the most impacted by leadership, so please consider a non-affiliated, and by that I mean not a resident commissioner on the board. The administrative oversight hearing that was held by the city council, in that it seems that the committee asked a certain amount of questions. Some are involving repairs, some are involving them in dispo, some involving operations. They asked housing authority these questions, and I understand you all have a certain amount of time to answer. Would you consider making public the answers to the questions that the city council posed? Because many of them involve and affect us and our lives. Any thoughts on that, anybody?
Yes,
Can
hi,
we do
this is,
that, interim director?
yes, we can. The responses to the council typically are posted on the council's website, and certainly are considered public, and we would be happy to do that as well.
Okay, that'll be on the council website. Have you all answered them yet? Do you know? Or is that coming?
I believe, I think we're doing a final edit this week, but they will be going this week.
Okay, so we can check. Would you put it on the DCHA website as well, please?
Yes, I will ask my team about that. I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, there is a motion or resolution at the city council to add 2 new members to the board. A, do you all have any input on that? And B, what are your thoughts on that? Would more members of the board make you more or less effective? And what kind of qualifications could be added to that? Respond.
Ms. Frazier, you have 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, I just asked the question.
We
Hello?
have not had that discussion, Ms. Frazier.
Okay, so nobody has an opinion on that yet.
Right, we don't. We have not had that discussion.
Okay. I am saddened that that's all I have to say at the moment.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. Next is Charles.
Hello, I'm here. This is Miss Childs. I'd like to say, first of all, hello to everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the ongoing issues that I have with DC Housing Authority that really are not resolved. And Commissioner Talaferro is correct. It does start from management. I can't get anything done due to management. I came there to work under the Moving to Work program. Well, my supervisor told me she didn't like me, so they decided they wanted to fire me. So I went to say goodbye to everybody. The check that they had for me, they took that check back and gave me a smaller check, but I paid taxes on 2 checks. As of today, I did not get my checks, and that was back in March 2020. Ms. Putner is the person who signed off on everything. So that does start with management. Talaferro, you are correct. Second of all, I went to see a property that they assigned me to, but attacker number 1 utilizes that property to job search, and this is how he was able to come up on a property where I live at now, and he worked here for 6 months. And again, Ms. Putner, she did deny me to use a housing choice voucher, which I was originally on the list for in the 80s, which I was a kid, and I submitted my name back on the list in 2004, and I was still denied to be able to use the housing choice voucher under domestic violence. So my daughter was a 30-something-year-old grown man. She's 16, was in the hallway naked, waiting for her to come home from school, wanted to rape her. And so he decides he wants to kill me 4 days in a row to get to my daughter. Still, I can't get the housing choice voucher to move so that I can't be found. So my complaint is about, I am entitled for the housing choice voucher under the Domestic Violence Act, but I'm still being denied because of management is not allowing it. Even their chief called me after their meeting last month, and he also spoke on this. But he don't remember that in 2018 he also denied it too. I keep all letters. Again, I have not received my paycheck. It's a personal issue. The Wilson family and the Childs family did not get along in the 70s. Therefore, they are putting the next generation into a feud that ended years ago, and I can't get a voucher, I can't get paid, and I can't stay employed there because they know all the management. So, Mr. Talaferro, you are correct.
So, Director Donald, if I may respond, Ms. Childs did not inform.
Mr. Williams, I'd rather not respond. It sounds like this is a personnel issue, and so we should definitely follow up. I did make a note of Ms. Child's name, and I will follow up with Ms. Punter too about the voucher issue. Thank you.
Next constituent, Rosa.
Hello, how is everyone? Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay. My name is Rosa. Okay, my name is Rosa Burbridge, and I'm a resident of Lincoln Road. I wish DCHA was as passionate about the funding as you are about the residents. You went on and on about the resolutions, and we went into an additional time period. And I understand everything that's going on, but if you took 10% of that passionate and asked your residents what's going on with them, then you guys would be a functioning organization. I don't need you to speak for me or advocate for me, but what I do need is for you to listen to me. We've been dealing with this RAD since 2015. The last commissioner meeting, Mr. Mays says that he will be able to tell me where will we be relocated to. So I hope you have that, because it seems a problem when we speak at these meetings, you tell us you'll get back, and you never do. And for the commissioners, the few that are standing up for us, I appreciate you and I applaud you. And don't let the money change your mind, because we, the residents, are suffering. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and we're living in dilapidated buildings. We have rodents, we have rats. One of the questions I would like to ask, when you start this RAD renovation process, where will we be located? I ask this again. Will the rent payments be collected during this period? If the renovation process precedes the time limit, how will that impact the residents? Like, you're going to pay for our storage? Will we be on our own? And when will they have a RAD meeting that includes personnel, not management, who can answer these questions? And I challenge you that we, the residents, we need more than 5 minutes. You see how many hours you guys take back and forth talking about your $230 million like it was such a dire situation. It would be dire if it was being spent on us. We're not getting none of it. You just said what? Repeatedly, money going toward housing authority, police. Do you think we, the public, the residents, really care about that part? That seems like an internal situation and a problem. And when will the commissioners make themselves available to the residents to talk, to listen? Unless you hear from us, you can't do nothing from us. Now, I thank you for your time and consideration. I appreciate you, but I want to tell you as a resident, you're dysfunctional, and instead of being the District Columbia Housing Authority, you're becoming the displacing communities and having authority to do so. And I hope I stayed in my 5 minutes. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Burbridge. Paulette Matthews.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I got a delayed reaction. I wasn't sure. My name is Paulette Matthews, and I am a former resident of Bury Farm. I've heard so much here, as always, that really is very disturbing on all ends. Far-wise as the residents and what the residents go through the relocation process, it's a nightmare. I'm now presently in Ward 1, and this is not the conversation that I really want to have. And as she stated, we don't get enough time. A lot of times when y'all can brown bag that situation y'all just had, but I guess maybe y'all had to make a vote, I don't know. People have to do things, and so they're not on the line to be able to talk about stuff that we have only 5 minutes, but it's more devastating than what y'all can even imagine, because you don't live in the situation. We have had several directors, and now we have an acting director. At this point, I don't know where it's going to go, but everything is hopeful, and we don't even know if she's going to be the permanent director. I would like to talk about a situation that I've had and y'all have heard about, and that is the fencing situation. Today, the DC Regulatory Affairs came and stopped the work order again today. I don't know what's going on. They're trying to locate someone with DC Housing Authority. So I don't know if it's Mr. Larry Williams they're trying to contact or if it's Mr. Oliver. I don't know whom it is, but the guy stopped working. That's a nightmare for me. It's been an ongoing nightmare for me. And I wish that this situation will get resolved because they are just about through. And now they've been stopped, and it was told that the lift was taken off of it, and now here we go again. The other concern I have is maintenance issues. I don't feel as though the DC Housing Authority has enough qualified staff for the property. That's one of the many reasons why we have, if it's not funding, Band-Aid repairs and all of this using cheap materials is some things that I've gotten done in my unit that wasn't able to last a year. My concern is the fact that some of my control numbers were before Corona. Then I had some during Corona, but there was an emergency only being dealt with. So what does that look like for a resident who had control numbers beforehand? Then I tried to call Friday. My garbage disposal stopped around 3 o'clock. I was number 6. Then I was number 1. Then the call dropped. Then I called back. The phone rang once. I used someone's phone did the same thing. I go over to Mr. Clarence in the community center. He uses a landline phone and he also uses his cell phone. Same thing happened. So what I'm trying to figure out is when things happen like that and y'all are not aware of y'all having some telephone problems and we cannot get our work orders in. And then when I did it on Monday, I was wondering when someone was going to come and fix it. My management told me that I didn't even have a control number in there, but I got 2 control numbers on Monday. But I had to place them again today. And then when it comes to Berry Farms, because we are all spread all over the place, I believe that there's no resident council no more for Berry Farms. I don't know if somebody can answer that. But regardless if it is or isn't, there's still a Berry Farms Tenant and Allies Association. And we would like to be informed of things taking place because after all, it's all dealing with us. And it's sad to know that people are making all these decisions and voting this, that, and the other. And in real-time life, it's not benefiting us at the beginning and the middle and the end of the day. So I don't know. We're talking about redevelopment and RED and all that. I feel as though, like, the whole administration, Fed and DC, needs to be redeveloped because human lives don't seem to be important to both agencies. And I would like a response from anybody there if y'all can still hear me. Can y'all hear me?
We hear you.
Williams, do you have an update from Ms. Matthews? If not, then we'll have to follow up, but I think you had maybe a few things to update in response.
Sure. Ms. Matthews, when we met, the communication that you gave me is that you did not want the other work orders performed until the fencing was done.
Mr. Larry Williams, let's not go there. Let's not go there right now about the other things. What happened is, I got dogs, okay? So my thing was, if I'm going to have people in and out, then I would like to have the back secured for many reasons. Okay, please listen. No, please listen, because see, y'all tell a story a whole different way. And then I don't have time for it because I'm the one going through it. So therefore, that has been done. And anybody can come in here now. And I told Ms. Tata that. Okay, so if you will respond to your emails, because she sent y'all emails. There's some emails that have been sent to you, I think Mr. Oliver, and whomever else was on it. So we're not going to wait till today for you to come on here and try to tell me something about when we spoke. Yes, when we spoke, it was said that it was lifted, and I'm saying today that people had to stop work. So what did y'all do? What did y'all do? The paperwork.
If you'd allow me to finish.
I don't want to talk about people coming in my unit. I want to address the work order.
Again, we agreed that that's how we would proceed. Now, DCRA came back out today and put in a stop order And they have not reached out to me or anyone else at the Housing Authority. So we are trying to speak to them regarding the reason that they stopped the work order. So we are in the process of doing that today. And once we get an update for you, we'll provide you the update as we did before. But we're not clear as to why they stopped the work order.
Hello, I'm trying to tell you. Hello, I'm trying to tell you that they said that it was not straightened from the beginning when I had all these notices on my door. That's what he said. Because I really didn't want to hear it. I said, I live here. I said, but you need to go down there to the rental office and talk to management because I live here. DC Housing Authority owns this property. So you can figure it out or how it's done or whatever. But that's what took place today, and that's what they said. So they said they will get back with me today or tomorrow. That's what the gentleman said to me.
I'll follow up with DCRA, and then I'll follow up with you.
Okay, as far as these work orders, the back is finished. So I can let my dogs out. So we don't want the situation of the back, because it took 3 weeks for them to be able to come back and do that work. So I understood the part about that, but now that's finished. So they can come in and out of my unit, and Ms. Hightower already knows, and she already has the control numbers, and you have been recently sent an email, and yesterday I submitted a letter. If you have not gotten it on yesterday, you will receive it today, or you need to check your email. I do not know which one.
Okay, I'll follow up with Ms. Hightower.
Thanks, Larry.
Please and thank you. When it comes to the Berry Farms resident.
Okay, Ms. Belt.
When it comes to the Berry Farm, excuse me for a minute. I don't know if my time was up or not, but y'all took a lot of time too. I had a question with the Berry Farm situation in the resident council, and I'm asking if there's no longer no Berry Farm resident council because there's a BFTAA, will we be contacted? Because communication is the key, and the problem seems to be a lack of communication. So I'm trying to make this statement, and I would like to have an answer in reference to that, because it's so sad to see that there's a whole Goodman League game that's going on over there each and every day, and the residents can't even figure out or find out when or how we will ever get back. And the first building that's going to be made is a senior building. So can somebody address the resident council issue and also put it on note that Berry Farm Center and Lilac still exists, and so we should be contacted. Am I muted?
Ms.
Am I muted?
No, I don't have
No,
a
you're not. We hear you.
I'm sorry, I don't have a response right now, so we will have to follow up. Thank you.
Patrice Belt.
Ms. Belt had to go. She's not available.
Okay, thank you. Patricia Bishop.
Good afternoon. I guess y'all muted me without answering the question. Thank you, though.
Ms. Matthews, this is Senthil Sankaran from OCP. I know we were in a meeting just it was like a week ago where we addressed the Berry Farm piece, but I'm happy to reach out to you again. My team will reach out so that we can speak with you more about Berry Farm Phase 1.
Patricia Bishop.
Good afternoon, everyone. A pleasure to get to speak with y'all once again, and I will remain getting in good trouble. First of all, there was a bill first. They shouldn't have never took it off, because that was the main reason that we didn't want to go through the same thing that other properties went through with this relocation, with the crime, the living conditions that they are experiencing. That's why we asked for a bill first. Nobody should have took that off. It should be aware to everybody, the mayor, the councils, and the ANC. Now, my next thing is about this hot water coming out on the cold side and even in our toilets of all faucets in the building. Not just one apartment building, many apartment buildings. that is located at 203, apartments that are located at 203 N Street. Okay, Mr. Albert Williams sent me an email that he tried to reach me. Nobody else has a problem when it's time to reach out to Ms. Bishop. So he should not have a problem with knowing my phone number or dialing the correct number. Larry Williams, when I spoke with him about the trash cans, the recycled trash cans that are homing rats and mice on the property, he was supposed to get back to me that day. He did not. He called when I'm on my way to the hospital because I'm having asthma and breathing problems due to the chemicals that was used by the contractors. Okay? Now, being that y'all have these contractors in here, I am experiencing one of your contractors at my door with a key trying to enter my apartment. They should know what apartment they should be located at, across the hall or below me or any other apartment in the building that they have to do work in, not my door. There are master keys out here. We can't have guns on housing properties to defend ourselves. I am disabled and a senior, and I would not have and tolerate any more disrespect from a contractor trying to enter my apartment with a key. The living conditions of the people who are in the building, they need to be the first to be relocated in the building, in those apartments, and have their apartments taken care of and fixed to the exact livable condition under the DC law. Your recertification, I've had a problem and I spoke about it previous meetings. When Social Security gives us a statement, a verification of income statement from Social Security, DC Housing should not deny to accept that letter from Social Security. And because we have a card that looks like a credit card that says Direct Express, MasterCard, only Social Security can put money on that card. Nobody can put money on that card. The IRS couldn't even put the stimulus money on that card. The only money on that card is the same statement that Social Security issues us every year for a proof of income, and that should be what should be accepted. Or if it continues to happen the way the DC Housing wants to have that run, I will look into a lawsuit on DC Housing as far as that as my rights, and Social Security will back me up. My next, because I have several, like it don't make no sense. The disrespect that constantly keeps happening between employees that get paid every day to make sure that our living conditions are taken care of. That backlog before the pandemic, the living conditions, the hot water, the disconnecting the heat, that bin, the storage bin that's sitting out there where they have put in a new heating system to disconnect us, the gas escaping from the contractors that had dug up from 1200 all the way back through 203 with gas escaping, and we are inhaling that on top of chemicals. Please consider our Black Lives been matter. We're still dying. We're living in here with lead, mold, mildew. And y'all keep talking about some security, some policing. When we are the stakeholders, we pay our rent.
Bishop, you have 30 seconds.
And I appreciate you announcing that 30 seconds, but I'm going to continue to speak because I need to be heard loud and clear. That these conditions that y'all continue to allow us to live in day to day, it's very unnecessary. From an intern to a previous director, stop addressing Tyrone Gerd as director. He's not acting. Give this lady, Ms. Donald, some respect. And let her hear the tenants. She needs to set up a meet or come to the property herself to hear and see and meet and greet the tenants. not have anybody that was previously on that board suggest to her of anything to be taken care of without the tenants being heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Now we have 4 non-residents. You have 3 minutes. Scott Brown.
Hang on a second. This is Ms. Day. Was I called? Because I didn't get a chance to speak.
Did call you. You didn't answer, but you can go on now. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear that. Sorry. Okay, I just have a few things. I wanted to one touch bases on my current property, which is James Creek. To my knowledge, Miss Roberts is no longer our rental office person, and she's been gone for almost 2 months now. The new person in that rental office, one, doesn't answer the phone and has yet to send out any notice or any contact information for us to know whom to contact when we have issues. So could someone speak with our property manager to reach out to the residents, because we have no clue who it is? That's one issue. The other issue, when it comes down to the work orders, I was on hold for almost 2 hours again, trying to get through to put in a work ticket. I've spoke with the supervisor who's responsible for that department a few times before, but it's nerve-wracking to be on hold for 2 hours to put in a work order. Once upon a time, we used to be able to go to the DCHA website and put in our own work orders through the online link. Is that something we can look into bringing back? Because if you don't have enough people to answer the phones, or if they're working from home and they decide not to answer the phone, it's a headache to try to stay on hold for 2 hours to put in a work ticket or to get through to someone and get disconnected. So that's something I want us to also look into. As far as my situation, I did have a meeting with Mr. Mays, Williams, Ms. Watson, and Ms. Powell to try to get some of my issues together that's been ongoing since the fire happened in my unit. Right now, for the record, I'm still waiting for all work orders. I'm waiting for more information from Mr. Williams on some relocation options. As far as my family, I'm waiting on the correct ledger, in which I still want to get reviewed once I receive the corrected ledger, to do some rent abatement due to all of the housing code violations I've dealt with while living in DC housing on my Elvis Road property, from the rodent infestation to, the building conditions, to the discrimination, to the right to organize, to the no hot water, and all the other issues. And also I'm waiting on the Wells Fargo ledger for my ABLE program. Now, I heard through the grapevine today that there's a meeting on Elvins Road in reference to elections. That's something that I've reached out to you guys about several times. If I'm technically considered a resident of Elvins Road, although I'm displaced and I'm here in James Creek, why was I not notified? Why did I not receive any information? And everybody all the way up the chain of command has my phone number, email address, and everything else. I'm being left out on information for that property that I'm still technically considered a resident of.
Can I say something?
Sure.
She is absolutely correct. And nobody sees it from like I said, from the top down. They always saying they're gonna do something, and all these people, the living conditions are terrible. I see it, and nobody listen to us. Me. And the thing is, I'm a joke. Like I say again, they think everything is a joke. We hire these people. Let me finish. We hire these people. The ED hire these people to do a job, and they're not doing it. Only thing they do got excuse, but it's not helping the residents. I do agree 100% with her.
Right, and that's the thing I tell people all the time. This is your job. This is our life. We live here. We have to deal with this. The Board of Commissioner meetings, yes, it's here. It's public record. However, it just gives you another 30 days to push it to the side. We're just
This is Commissioner Vaughn Godfrey, and I'm going to speak. And Ms. High, I do know how to stay in my lane, and this is my lane. I am the only commissioner that for 14 years on this board have stated, been on record behind doors and closed doors. Pay your rent next month to landlord and tenant court. How come you haven't had a rent strike? I am the president of Potomac Gardens. Commissioner Hoffman walked this property with me. Our
Who?
residents have shared with her that Commissioner Von Gosh
Where is
free
that?
exercise. Pay
Where's it
your
at?
rent to the court. You have that right. Not near
Anybody else?
resident has followed those
What about it?
instructions. And as a matter of fact, I've had a meeting
I don't have nothing because y'all
right here in Potomac Gardens where we had a meeting on how to do a rent strike. If you're on my Facebook page, I give you Chrissy Span. I am the only commissioner that up all night long, and I'm not one to be played with because I'm under spiritual maintenance. I only have 15 months on this board. Check my record, and if you do your research, this is how you know what a commissioner has done and has not. Pull the minutes. See how a commissioner votes. Read what we state in the minutes. I'm a part of many organizations. I believe in rent strikes. And everybody on this board, from Commissioner Telefern, Commissioner Council, has had me say that over and over, and I've done my homework. DC Superior Court do not have but one person who took them to court and followed my instructions, and that came from Ontario Road. Follow suit.
Okay, our next is Scott Brown. Daniel.
Thank you, Commissioner Council. Sorry, I forgot to unmute there. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Daniel Del Pielago. I am an organizer with Empower DC. I want to talk today about the resident council's elections. I'm glad to see that the elections are taking place this year and that the plan is being rolled out. I, along with some of my co-workers, have attended some of the recent informational meetings that the third party is hosting, and we've gotten some feedback and questions that have come up at these meetings. First of all, these meetings have been very sparsely attended. One, to no people, no residents at these meetings. What kind of notification has gone out to residents aside from the posters that we see put in the locations where the meeting will take place? So for example, yesterday at Woodland Terrace, there was a poster at the rec center, but I don't think there was notification to residents anywhere else. The application to run for a seat on the resident council stipulates that the application must be verified by the property manager. As we understand it, property managers have not returned full time to the property, right? Being in the office every day of the week. This presents a challenge in folks who are interested in running, in getting their applications verified. What can residents do who want to apply if they are having trouble connecting with their property manager? And we just heard from a resident, Ms. Day, saying she can't get a hold or know what's going on with her property manager. Elections are being held at properties that are going to be redeveloped, which will take them out of the public housing program through NCI, RAD, etc. What is planned to communicate to these councils what will happen to them once they return to a finished project? So for example, when they return to Elvins Road, even if a board is elected this year, potentially when they return to a redeveloped property in 22, what does that mean for the resident council that got elected this year? We noticed that Berry Farm is not on the list of resident council elections this year. We asked one of the reps from the third party about this, and as we understand it, the Berry Farm Resident Council has been dissolved. Is this true? And how has this been communicated to that resident council and the larger resident body that they no longer have a resident council? I have asked these questions of Mr. Fashad Tyler. I have not gotten a response, so I would appreciate a written response sent to me by email to daniel@empowerdc.org. I've got some questions related to Berry Farm, but we will be meeting with the interim director soon, so I will save those. A resident reached out to me earlier today asking about the issues of the upcoming inspections that are to happen, the HUD inspections. It appears that they will be virtual, which presents a problem for people who don't have access to devices or to the internet. It seems that people have gotten just about a week's notice, but some people simply will not be able to participate in that because they don't have a smartphone or a tablet or a computer that they can use to, and they may not have the expertise necessarily to, maybe some very obvious things, but other things that may be code violations, I think is a problem. So I think that needs to be addressed. Lastly, I forgot to mention this during the resident council piece that I brought up. We have been contacting residents, letting them know that this is taking place, offering to provide applications, so on and forth, or so forth, any support they may need. I've received several calls asking for the application, and I don't know why they can't be placed in a lobby, for example, at 1200 Delaware Ave. Why can't they be in the lobby? Why? I see Mr. Bo agreeing with me. Why can't they be placed in the lobby at Garfield? And just in a general place where residents can have access to them, because as we well know, many residents in public housing do not have access to the internet, do not have access to a scanner, to a printer. And I understand the third party will make some accommodations, like taking pictures of the applications and sending them to them, but not everyone has that access. So it just seems like such a simple thing, especially when we know the very low turnout at these resident elections. There is no quorum as to, how many votes are needed to elect somebody. So just leaving 5-6 applications, in a lobby would go a long way. So as I mentioned, I have asked these questions to Mr. Tyler. Hopefully we can get a response, but I think somebody should be able to tell us a response right now on the Berry Farm situation. Berry Farm, as we understand it, and I think Ms. Rita, who's a representative from the third party, did ask Mr. Fashad Tyler, and he says that properties that have been, where residents have been moved around the city, those resident councils are dissolved. So I think somebody can answer that today. Can you please let us know what is the status of the Berry Farm Resident Council?
Thank you, Daniel. Miss Lim Lim, am I pronouncing it right? Leonard Ward, is someone speaking? Okay, this concludes our Board of Commissioners meeting. We will resume.
They answer the question about
September.
Berry Farm. Daniel asked a question.
They're getting back with him. They've taken notes. They're getting back with him. The person that can answer is not on the call.
Hi, can y'all still hear Ms. Bishop?
Can I speak?
Did you sign up? I don't have you on my roster. Who are you?
Commissioner Umar, President Umar for Garfield Terrace.
Did you register?
Yes, I just did.
I don't have you on here.
I registered as well. My name is Sabia Prince. I registered Ms. Menendez.
Now I do have you, Ms. Prince. I do see you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, and thanks for this opportunity to speak with you on behalf of the Advisory Committee for the Berry Farm Hillsdale Legacy Project. I am Sabia Prince. I'm a DC resident. I'm a DC native, and I'm also an urban anthropologist. And I'm here to introduce you to the work that this advisory committee is engaged in and briefly share the reasoning behind our efforts along with our vision for the future of this site. The Berry Farm Hillsdale Legacy Project Advisory Committee was formed earlier this summer to pool the energies and skill sets of a diverse group of individuals who are all on the same page about the importance of protecting and promoting the Berry Farm Hillsdale legacy in the wake of the 2019 decision to award the area the historic landmark status. Our committee consists of approximately 38 experienced community advocates. Among our group are former Berry Farm residents, as well as one or more museum curators, preservationists, scholars, performing and visual artists, architects, community organizers, and genealogists, among others. And we are gratified to count such local leaders as Mr. Frank Smith of the African American Civil War Museum and noted historian author Derek Musgrove among our collective, as well as the Smithsonian's Faith Davis Ruffins, Betsy Merritt of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and humanities consultant Joy Ford Austin, who was, of course, with the DC Humanities Council for an extended period of time. Additionally involved is Mr. Herb of Peaches and Herb fame, who grew up in the Berry Farm dwellings, as well as the descendants of some of the organizers who were active on that site decades ago. This work is in exceptionally good hands, and equally important, these committee members are energized and focused as we set about the work of ensuring these landmark buildings are restored and transformed into the community resource we all know they can become. We have a vision statement, which I'm holding up here for you to see, which we would like to share with your board. It will also be available on our website that goes live at the end of the summer. Essentially, this statement conveys a promising vision for the landmark site. When we scan the ruins and look at what remains of people's homes, we imagine, thank you, a number of outcomes, including the creation of an exhibit space, a space where the rich and layered history can be shared and archival materials can be stored and made available for researchers and the community at large. We also see the location as a setting for educational programming for all ages, but particularly as a place where children can flourish and grow through access to learning opportunities related to STEM, the arts, and other fields. And we also envision the buildings as a future site that can support small business incubation and community organizing, among other activities. The buildings, to conclude, which evaded demolition and achieved landmark status through the efforts
3
of
minutes.
many of the people on our committee. I'm just wrapping up. This presents a hopeful prospect for DC history and the residents of this great city, especially those who were displaced. And we just hope that you guys will support our efforts and join us in this work, as we all need help, all the help that we can garner. And thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
I have something to say, and everybody keep putting me on hold. And it's not right that people under the director are not doing their job. You got resident management that don't care. You got area managers that don't care. We hired them to do a job. They can't not do a job. We need to demote them back down to property managers, area managers, all of them, because it's no way ridiculous how all these properties look in living conditions. And I sees it, and I do not believe none of them, because they lie, and they're not trustworthy. I'm done.
Real talk.
Hello, this is Miss Bishop. Can I speak? Because I saw in the chat that Ms. Donalds had stated that they was here at the building and fixed the problem. I don't know what time they reported that the problem was fixed, but I wouldn't check my water on the cold side, and it is still hot. So could somebody give me a time of when that happened? And also, how long would it take for it to stop? Because to have hot water in the toilet and on your cold side, scalding hot, it is a problem that has been occurring too long.
So, Ms. Bishop, they were out there at 9:43 this morning, and it was reported back that they adjusted the heat based on what your request was. I will send Keith Kendall and his team back out and have them confirm with you before they leave the property.
Can I get an opportunity to say something, please? I don't need but 1 or 2 minutes.
3
Yeah,
minutes.
he have the right to say something.
3
Y'all
minutes.
screen people. Y'all be screening people who call it in. Shoot, DP.
Omar, go ahead.
Can I make a statement, please? I'm being
ahead, Mr.
polite and
Omar, go
respectful.
ahead. Mr. Omar, go ahead.
Thank you. My question is directed to Greg Mays and Larry Williams. I would like for you all to stop procrastinating with our $29,000 that you owe us. If you say that it's only $9,000, present all documents. Other than that, you stole our money. We need our money. Greg Mays, Larry Williams, we need you to give us in detail where you misappropriated or you appropriated $20,000. We missing 20,000. You said you only owe us 9,000. I want this to be documented that you owe us, and you saying it's 9,000. We would like to see that. And furthermore, I don't see really, I respect the board, you, Mr. Council, and everybody on this board, but I do not see how in the world you allowed Greg Mays to be living in Texas and be on our board in DC. That is crazy. We got somebody from Texas that's acting crazy, disrespecting seniors and everybody. And he's on the board and he's in Texas. What morals and principles do we have? We don't have nobody in DC that could do what he's not doing right. He's doing everything wrong. He tried to threaten me. He even tried to threaten Ms. Cooper and everybody. This man has lost his mind, Greg Mays and Larry Williams. I do not know how in the mess that anybody on this board allowed someone to be hired from Texas to work in DC. And I don't know how Larry Williams with a high school education got all the way up to those positions that he's in. Period. Because he's not smart enough to fulfill them, because he's making a lot of mistakes and he's hurting a lot of seniors and people's lives, like tremendously. And it's crazy. And nobody's seeing this. Nobody's doing nothing. You can hear from all these meetings, all he has been doing is taking the fifth or using all the excuses in the world. Larry Williams need to go. Greg Mays need to go. You can see what was going on. Tyrone Gard is not there to be able to defend him on anything, the crookedness that he did. He tried to get me locked up in this building. I wasn't even here. I was in Tuskegee, Alabama. He even tried to get me evicted. I got all the paperwork and nobody's doing nothing. The only person that mentioned this was Ms. Cooper and the new director, Ms. Donnells. Everybody else been seeing this. Come on. And you mean to tell me y'all allowing this? I'm glad that Ms. Donnells came up here and I spoke to her personally. Because Greg Mays even lied about our vending machines. Not only that, this voting stuff that y'all doing, I tried to contact Mr. Fashad myself too. This is crazy. They just let us know yesterday when we was having the board, when we was having the voting for the resident council meeting. I just got a call from a sister over Callum Miller that they had to vote today. Over there today. She didn't even know nothing about it. Not even the resident manager even know. Even in my building, they setting this up so they could do this the way they want to do it. It was only two people over there at Callum Miller that went in there. Out of all these 100 and something people in this building in Garfield Terrace, you only had 10 people upstairs to even understand the resident council thing. You didn't have nobody up there for Garfield Terrace family at all because they didn't put no information out. And y'all paid these people to do this. And they doing a horrible job. I asked them, can they postpone it? They told me no, because their contract don't consist of that. So y'all set us up for failure when it comes to the resident council board on even getting votes in. That is crazy.
Mr. Chairman.
Pathetic.
Mr. Umar.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, can I just please respond? Because I know you make some valid points and you and I have met and I'm following up on some of the issues. But I do have to respectfully ask and ask the board that that this is really not the appropriate forum to cast aspersions on staff and staff qualifications. That is my responsibility. And if I'm not holding staff appropriately accountable, then you all need to hold me accountable. They're not on the board, they are on staff. So I appreciate you nodding about that, Mr. Umar. Probably should have stepped in earlier to my team. I apologize. But I do want to say too that I have heard a number of comments today about the elections and the timing and the notification. And so that is something I will talk to my team about, because obviously we do want to support fair elections and want to make sure that people have been there's been appropriate outreach, access to vote. So I don't understand the rules yet, but let me find out if we can do something to extend that time frame. I would be in support of that. I don't know what the rules are, but I will find out, because I've heard from several people today. So we want to make sure that we do have fair elections where people do get to participate. That's and to everybody's credit. So I will look into that immediately and we will respond. Hopefully we're able to accommodate wider participation. Thank you.
Director
Commissioner
Donald.
Slover?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Commissioner Strickland, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Director Donald, can we do an emergency? It could be a committee meeting or something just focused on those elections, because we've been hearing that a couple times today. It could go through ops, it could go through resident services, could go anywhere. But I think that the commissioners should be involved in this conversation, because the vendor came in front of us at least 3 times to ensure us and give us timelines on how long it takes to reach out to all the constituents and all the parties involved. I think I talked to Kendra Jackson was the first one that brought it to my attention that things weren't moving as they said they were moving based on what was told to us in the meeting. So I would, if it's possible, Director, we could find some time to just talk about the elections.
Yes, of course.
Commissioner Slover?
I appreciate the opportunity to respond to Mr. Umar's testimony. I would love to get some sort of report to the board about this money that's supposedly missing somewhere, and to better understand. It's always been somewhat curious to me, the laundry contracts, the vending contracts, how all that works, where that money's supposed to go, who's supposed to get it, and what it's supposed to be used for. Maybe this is a good opportunity for that to be presented to the board, and also an opportunity to get this situation resolved, because it seems to have been around for a minute, and I would like to have it resolved. I think we need to get it resolved.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Slaughter.
Thank you. With that being said, this ends our monthly meeting, BOC. Our next one will be Wednesday, September the 8th, 2019 at 1 o'clock. Be safe.
2021.
I'm sorry, 2021, September 8th at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you, Director and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. We do appreciate you. Let's grow strong together.
Trouble is well appreciated. Have a nice day, everyone.